Good evening, everybody. I'd like to call to order the Wilmette Park District regular meeting of the Park Board Commissioners this Monday, October 18th, 2021 at 7:38. We're starting a couple minutes late because we obviously have a full house here, so welcome everybody. As has been our practice at a number of other meetings, taking a look at the agenda, I am going to deviate from the agenda just very slightly in that the public comment section 4.0, I'm actually going to delay that until we have an introduction of the Lakeview Committee, the Lakefront Committee report, because there's going to be a brief presentation summary on the Lakeview Center plan, and then we're going to invite anyone from the public who would like to speak on that or any other topic. Just want to remind everybody as we do that, and I will say it again at that point in the meeting, for anybody who has already communicated with us, we have reviewed all of the communication we've received. If you've sent something to me, chances are I've already responded to you, and I know a number of other commissioners have as well. So you're certainly welcome to repeat what you've sent, but in the interest of expediency, I would encourage you to hit the high points. We ask each person to limit your comments to 3 minutes. And as always, I would ask you to be respectful of everybody else. We're obviously all a part of the same community, and we want to hear what everybody has to say, but please do not respond to anyone else in the crowd. Direct any of your comments to us, and please no clapping, no jeering, et cetera, et cetera. So with that, I'd like to go ahead and begin the meeting. And the first thing I would like to do is welcome Lindsay Anderson, our newest commissioner. Lindsay is a Kenilworth Gardens resident. She's got 3 kids, 9, 6, and 3. She has extensive experience in state government, and she has some expertise in strategic planning, which we're going to get to when we get down to the new business portion of the agenda, because that's something that this board would like to undertake. And Lindsay, I think you're going to be a tremendous asset as we go through that. So welcome.
Thank you so much, Mike. Thank you for the welcome. I know it's a packed agenda tonight, so I won't go too long, but just wanted to say how much of an honor it is to serve, and looking forward to really getting to know all of you better, spending more time with you, and getting to work. So tremendous honor, grateful for the opportunity to serve my community. Thank you.
Thank you. Kara, could I have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
Roll call. It's a roll call. Roll call.
I'm sorry. Let's start. This is the second time I've forgotten a roll call. We should do a roll call. That's an excellent idea.
Commissioner Duffy. Here. Commissioner Anderson.
Here.
Commissioner Frazier.
Here.
Commissioner Kozlowskis.
Here.
Commissioner Clark.
Here.
Commissioner Goebel.
Here.
Commissioner Murdoch.
Here.
You have a full quorum.
All right. Moving on to the consent agenda.
I move to approve the consent agenda of October 18th, 2021 regular board meeting, a copy of which is to be attached to and become a permanent part of the minutes of this meeting.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Does anyone want to take anything off the consent agenda for any reason? All right. Then a roll call, please.
Commissioner Duffy.
Yes.
Commissioner Anderson.
Yes.
Commissioner Frazier.
Yes.
Commissioner Kozlowskis.
Yes.
Commissioner Clark.
Yes.
Commissioner Goebel.
Yes.
Commissioner Murdoch.
Yes.
Consent agenda is approved.
Great. Item 3.0 on our agenda, communication and correspondence. We have had a tremendous amount of communication and correspondence. The vast majority of it was focused on the Lakeview Center. As I said in my remarks earlier, we have reviewed all of the correspondence that we've received. More was coming in immediately before the meeting, so maybe not the last handful of things that have come in, but we certainly will review them as well. And does anybody have any other communication or correspondence they would like to share?
Everything that I received has been submitted.
Great. Thank you so much. All right. As I'd said, the public comment recognition of visitors, I'm going to hold briefly. The next item on our agenda is the Lakefront Committee Report and consideration of the design of the Lakeview Center. I'd like to ask Executive Director Wilson to give us a brief overview of the plan and the public engagement process to date. And then at that point, I'm going to open up the floor to public comment.
Thank you. So Lakeview Center was originally built in 1989, and since then it's played host to camps, classes, park district events, and a venue for the community to rent and host their own private events. Throughout those years, little investment has been made into the facility, and it's starting to show its age. Therefore, the project contemplates updating the finishes throughout the facility, including the restrooms. Along with the finishes, the lighting would also be updated. In addition to these updates, the interior space of the building would be reconfigured without moving any exterior walls, therefore staying within the existing footprint. The reconfiguration would start by moving the staff offices currently located on the upper level of the building to the lower level of the building. This then allows for 2 spaces to be created for programming and events on the top floor that could also be combined into one single space for a program or event if it's called for. This would be achieved through movable walls. On the lower level, in addition to the new staff offices located in what used to be the concessions for the Wallace Bowl, old dressing rooms for Wallace Bowl that are mainly serving as overflow storage currently would be turned into additional programming space that could serve summer camp or host other programming ranging across all types of programs. Once we move outside, there is a deck expansion considered, moving the deck from 600 square feet to 1,800 square feet. This expansion would go across a service drive to the south of Lakeview and across existing patio extending towards Wallace Bowl on the north. The project is contemplated to be executed in phases and could be completed in about a 1-year timeframe, working around the busy summer season, and has an estimated cost of slightly over $1 million, as represented in the professional services agreement for Woodhouse Tanucci Architects. So how did we get here? In the packet on page 186, right behind the presentation of the design concept, you'll see a memo from a prior Lakefront Committee meeting regarding the project timeline. In summary, this started at about this time 2 years ago when the board included in the 2020 budget funds to do a comprehensive plan for Lakeview. In March of 2020, an agreement was approved with Woodhouse Tanucci, and then COVID happened and everything got put on hold. In December of 2020, staff informed the Lakeview committee or Lakefront Committee that there were plans to move forward with that agreement with Woodhouse Tanucci and begin planning. Fast forward to June of 2021, where the committee received a presentation on the proposed conceptual designs. The committee then reported on the project to the full board at both the June and July board meetings before its next meeting as a committee in July, where they discussed the plans at length and approved a public input process to be facilitated by staff utilizing a project website, feedback survey, and 2 in-person open houses. These initiatives were launched throughout August of 2021. At the August board meeting, full board meeting, Woodhouse Tanucci then presented the same concepts to the full board. Then in a late August committee meeting, the Lakefront Committee were presented the initial summary of the feedback to date and a more finished version of that summary you can find in tonight's packet on page 191. The report at the September board meeting from the Lakefront Committee included a brief summary of the discussion at the August committee meeting. I delivered that summary as the chair of the Lakefront Committee was absent that evening. Then most recently, another committee meeting was held 2 weeks ago to further discuss the proposed renovations, which resulted in a committee vote to recommend the proposed design concepts and the related professional services agreement to the full board for its consideration.
Great, thank you very much. I am going to open the floor to public comment. But again, before I hear anyone on the Lakeview Center, just is there anyone here who's interested in commenting on something other than Gilson and other than the Lakeview Center? Could I see a show of hands? Okay. So I'm going to invite those folks up, and then we'll see how many people want to speak concerning Lakeview Center and Gilson, and then we'll go through the room in an orderly fashion. So please, when you come up, if you please state your name and let us know where you live.
My name is Maria Urban. I'm a 31-year resident of Wilmette. I live at 520 Gregory Avenue. I've been a member of Suburban Women Golfers, the group that I'm representing this evening, for 12 years. Suburban Women Golfers is one of 5 women's leagues in Wilmette. The membership of these 5 leagues totals 136 women. This many women come to play because Wilmette has a great golf course. I'm here to speak about this year's early closing. You all should have received a copy of our letter, so I won't repeat the points made there. Instead, I'd like to say the communication could have been better. We didn't learn of the early closure until late in the season, and were left scrambling to reschedule our signature charity outing before the closing. Fall golf is often the best of the year, and it's especially unfortunate to miss out on it. Suburban women golfers applaud staff's proposal to offer 2021 members a discount on their 2022 membership. We urge you to set the discount at 14%, given that we lost that amount of playing time this year. Thank you for your attention and your consideration.
Thank you. Is there anyone else here who would like to address us on a matter other than Lakeview Center or Gilson? Please.
Hello, my name is Joe Lunkus, 811 Park Avenue. I've lived in Wilmette for 37 years. I'm interested in your financial condition, and I was just reading your budget. I just need a quick clarification here. You're a June 30th year-end or a calendar?
December 31st.
Okay, so when I look at your chart here, you have actual 2019, actual 2020, actual 2021, and then budget 2021. So that's, you're comparing year-to-date against your, okay. And then you have total year projections 2021, total year budget 2021 over in the far column. Is that mislabeled? Is that 2022?
No, we have not set the 2022 budget. We did a mid-year projection, and that's what that column is versus the budget for 2021.
Okay, so you have an actual and a
Year-to-date
budget.
actual, year-end projection, total year budget.
Okay, so that's year-to-date.
Correct.
So, okay, so I'm reading for the month ending August 31st should be for this, the 8 months ending August 31st? Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Could I see a show of hands of who would like to address us this evening? Okay. I'm sorry? No, I think I'm just going to go from front to back. But all right. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start on the right side here as I face you, go front to back, and we'll catch people who are standing along, and then we'll come back to the other side, front to back. So, Bill, I believe you were the first person to raise your hand in the second row.
Hi, good evening, everybody. My name is Bill Arnold. My wife and I, Seal, have lived in Wilmette for 45 years and on Michigan Avenue for 38 years. We have been a participant in the considerations for the Gilson Comprehensive Plan and the Lakeview Center redesign plan from the very beginning. We were both at the last meeting of the Lakeview Center Committee. And I characterize that as a huge missed opportunity. Why do I say that? It's a missed opportunity.
Hey, guys, hold up.
Is that better?
Thank you.
Thank you, sorry. We characterize that as a huge missed opportunity. A missed opportunity because there were many of the village residents there who had quite a bit of experience with Gilson Park and knowledge of the Lakeview Center. Oh, thank you. Oh, I see what you mean. I get you.
They can hear you.
Oh, thank you very much. And everyone verbally communicated many points to the commissioners who were present. As you know, communication is a two-way street. It's not just speaking, it's listening. I did not speak that night because I wanted to observe the interaction. And I can honestly say to you that I did not feel that the commissioners listened to us. I did not see any evidence that the residents' concerns were reflected in the commissioners' thoughts or words back to us, with one exception, and that really wasn't to do with the Lakeview Center. Commissioner Murdoch did paraphrase the concerns of residents concerning the green space in Gilson Park and echoed back to us the plans for the Park District to, number one, reinstitute an arborist, and number two, reassign a horticulturalist from the lawn keeping staff to his actual horticultural position. That's the kind of response we were looking for. Steve, I know that the Lakeview Center was built in 1989, but you've given no compelling reason for why it's redesigned to the present state. Yes, it needs refreshing. Yes, it needs a kitchen. Anybody who's walked through there knows it needs refreshing. Why does it need a reconfiguration? What are the space pressures that are causing this? Why does it need a capacity of 200 people? And since when isn't the addition of 1,200 square feet of deck an expansion? By what definition of the word expansion isn't that an expansion? So what I'm looking for is a more interactive process. I have not seen a single change in the plan of the Lakeview Center since it's first been submitted to us for comment to tonight. It is unchanged. I just don't think that's right. And I would really encourage you as commissioners to listen to the people tonight, to show us that, give us evidence that you've heard us, and to show us some recognition of our concerns. Thank you very much. And thank you for your service. I understand this is a non-compensated position, and I hope you know we appreciate your actions on our behalf. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, anybody else on the second row? Please, yes.
This isn't a pep rally.
Come on, guys.
So are these too high for me now?
You
Or can
can-
you?
You might want to lower them.
Yeah, there you
How's that?
Yep.
Okay, thanks. My name's Karen Glennemeyer. I live at 719 Laurel in Wilmette. So I'm no architect, but the plans that I see for the Lakeview Center look really nice to me. I've always been sort of confused by the Lakeview Center. Doesn't seem to serve much purpose other than a much appreciated bathroom. It's not clear to me what the staff roles are in terms of public interface. So I really like the idea of reworking the interior to allow for more community engagement at Gilson Park. I don't know if this next comment is best directed at board or staff, but I assume both will be listening. I would love to see programming that celebrates and acknowledges the incredible location of this building. It sits next to one of the great wonders of the world in Lake Michigan. It's on a bird migration path that is globally significant. So why not create programming that educates and celebrates its unique location? Bird identification classes in advance of the May migration season, lake ecology and conservation, school field trips, art, photography, gardening. What a wonderful place to do all of these. I'm happy for the building to be a resource for whatever groups want to have a meeting there. We certainly could use more meeting spaces in Wilmette, but I think it would be a shame to not also develop some new creative nature-based programming in this unique location. So I would just encourage you all to make this a priority. I am happy to see no external building expansion and no increase in impervious surface. I think that makes a lot of sense. And just quickly about Gilson Park as a whole, I know you're not talking about that tonight, but I'm here. So I'm an ecologist, and I'm one of the community members who helped create the Gilson bird habitat. I work with Go Green Wilmette to lead monthly volunteer work days to help maintain them. And so therefore, I really appreciate the Gilson Concept Plan's emphasis on maintaining natural habitat. I appreciate that all of the concept plans involve only removing trees that are dead or dying. I do think it's important for there to be public transparency about which trees are slated for removal and why they need to come down so that we can all understand the need. And I would urge a requirement that a significant percentage of new trees are native species with an emphasis on oaks for their ecological and cultural significance. I am concerned about the concept plan's suggestion to selectively prune or remove undergrowth thickets because those play a really critical role in bird and wildlife habitat. So I would strongly urge collaboration with the birding community, including professional ornithologists if necessary, just to make sure that we're not removing something that's currently serving as important habitat. That's a feature that we actually added specifically to the bird habitat. So I guess I'll stop there. Thanks for all of your hard work.
Thank you. Is there anybody else in the second row? Third row, please. Yes, sir.
We had someone else in the second.
Oh,
row,
did we?
Lorene.
We had who else
After
in the second row? I'm sorry.
Lorene after this
Oh,
gentleman.
Lorene, I'm sorry. I missed you. No, please go ahead. You don't mind waiting, Lorene, do you? Thank you. Thank you for your patience.
Thank you for this opportunity to speak. My name is
Yes,
Joe
Joe.
Zurcher. I reside at 945 Michigan Avenue. I've been in Wilmette for 39 years, my wife for all her life. So I'm confused as to why the Lakeview Center is being separated out from the Gilson Master Plan. It sits at the very center of the park. And to me, it's an integral part. And it just, to pull it out of a master plan, to me, is absurd and illogical. Spending money on the Lakeview Center might use money that's needed for other work in Gilson, and you won't know that until the master plan's done. So to put $1 million out from the start on the Lakeview Center when it might be needed for so many other things. Gilson's a huge park. And it doesn't seem like, it was mentioned earlier that the board doesn't seem to be listening to the residents, because I've attended the last few meetings and I only thought of one person who spoke in for working on the Lakeview Center. And even your own survey had 12 big takeaways at the end. And number one was maintain natural character at 33.5%. Number two was let the park remain as is at 19.6%. And you have to go all the way down to point number 7 to get any positive response to facilities. And that was a measly 4.5%. I don't know, I think the board should pay attention to its own survey. You know, it doesn't seem to be any demand for a hugely upgraded center, at least not at this point. If there's enough money, then do it. Finally, I think the main draws for Gilson are the beach, the open green spaces, and trees. People go for a natural feeling. And I don't see the Wilmette Park District spending money on trees in years. I go through that park all the time and I love trees. They spent some money on Kentucky coffee trees to accent the parking lot. But every other tree that's been planted in the last decade or two has been a part of the commemorative program. Not a single dime by the Wilmette Park District. Yet, you're willing to spend $1 million on the Lakeview Center, but not a penny on trees. I mean, that's just insane to me. Because that's not what people are there for. I go to Lakeview Center because, not the Lakeview Center, the park, because it's an oasis. It makes me feel good. And I think most people do that.
Thanks, Joe.
All right, just one final thing. I think it's time for the Wilmette Park District to put the park back in Park District.
Come on, guys. This is not a football game. Please, I'd like, again, as I asked you at the start, please refrain from comments when people are speaking. Thank you. Lorene?
Lorene Thomas, 2228 Elmwood Avenue, once again. Steve, I was glad to see your email today confirming that a news... Can you hear me now?
Put them both together. There we go.
Okay. How about now? Okay. So, I'm never perfect. What can I tell you? I was glad to see Steve's email today confirming that a new survey about the Gilson Comprehensive Plan will be sent to Wilmette residents, but I would urge the board to postpone a vote on the Lakeview Center until that survey is completed. I would also strongly urge that estimated costs of each of Lakota Group's plans and options be included in the survey, along with costs of any necessary infrastructure repairs not covered by Lakota's plans. The survey should also include information about impacts on traffic and safety in the park and in the surrounding neighborhoods. Without this information, the survey is really meaningless because Wilmette residents can't meaningfully assess what these plans are about. And then I have to echo what the two of the other speakers already said. Please listen to your residents. Despite overwhelming opposition to the Lakeview Center renovation, the Lakeview Committee approved moving the plan forward at its last meeting without really addressing many of the concerns that the residents expressed at that meeting. That left many residents scratching their heads afterwards and wondering if this was all just a dog and pony show with a predetermined conclusion. I wonder sometimes, when the residents have said no so strongly, what it takes for this board to hear that no. I'm concerned about that. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else in the third row? All right, moving further back. Fourth row?
Good evening. Can you hear me all right? My name is Scott Crone. I live at 631 Lake Avenue. And I do have a master's in architecture. And I've been in the design and construction industry for over 35 years. When the last plan was approved for $10 million for the lakefront, it seemed ridiculous to me, including $1 million for a structure at Chestnut, which would now be underwater. So much so that it's a fantastic building architecturally. The poured-in-place concrete is phenomenal. But I've never designed a roof that needed two roofs, especially on a public building. There's certainly different ways to accomplish these things at a much more cost-effective manner. But to spend $1 million on a renovation, I probably have built more in Wilmette than anybody in this room, with maybe the exception of Mike Murdoch. Most of the homes in Wilmette don't cost $1 million to build. So to renovate a building that size at $1 million is just another example of why we have snow fencing on the beach when there was supposed to be permanent fencing, which is damaged and vandalized on a regular basis. I use Gilson Beach probably about 320 days of the year, and I'm very vastly familiar with what goes on there. The only thing I use the Lakefront Center for is to pay more taxes. I don't think I need to spend $1 million to pay more taxes. Thank you.
Thanks, Scott. Come on, guys. Is there anybody else in that row, 2, 4, 5th row, and 6th row? On this side, the yellow seats. Anybody else over here? Yes, please, Daryl.
So I am the one voice that did speak up in favor of the Lakeview Center being renovated. And I'll tell you why. Because it's an outdated facility that needs to be upgraded so it can be more used and more usable to the community. That's a benefit to everyone. I heard a lot of people oppose the Lakeview Center, and most of those people that opposed the Lakeview Center came from around the park. They were residents of the park. One gentleman said tonight, why aren't you listening? I think part of the problem is that the residents who are expressing opinions are expressing them based on their location of where they live to the park, and they don't want competition for the park. And I think that others are basing their opposition on misinformation. Misinformation submitted primarily by Keep Gilson Green. And how do I know this? Well, I can tell you. After the meeting, a memo went out by Keep Gilson Green participants, which was intended to denigrate me and say that I was a plant. I'm not. I haven't talked to any member of this board about my opinions. I'm simply a concerned citizen expressing my views. And it was reported that I had voted for things which I never voted for before. Now, why would an organization for the benefit of the community, supposedly, say that? Because they don't want any opposition to anything. And if you give them opposition, they get angry. And if they get angry, they're going to denigrate you. That's their plan. Now, what I did at that meeting is I challenged everyone in that room. As I said, tell me why a change in or a renovation of the interior of the space is in any way going to affect the green space, is going to cut down trees, is going to increase parking. Not a single person could do that. What we heard a lot about in that meeting, and what you're going to hear a lot about tonight, is we need more trees, we need more plants. I don't disagree with that, but those are two separate things. You can renovate the interior of the Lakeview Center and improve it and make it and create demand for it, which is a good thing. Or you can leave it deteriorate, in which no people use it, no one uses it, and it goes into disrepair. That's not in anyone's interest. Thank you.
Thank you. Daryl Graham.
Daryl Graham, 530 Laurel Avenue.
Thank you. Yeah, but when I come back around, absolutely. Yes, sir.
My name is John Daniels. I live at 1611 Wilmette Avenue. Please notice that that is nowhere near Gilson Park.
Please, please.
I hadn't intended to speak tonight until I heard the last speaker to make that point and one other. The other is, what you're trying to accomplish is to turn the Lakeview Center into a marketable place for receptions and things of that kind. I'm opposed to that. I suspect that most of the residents are opposed to that because you really don't want to have Gilson Park be an entertainment center in that sense. You want it to be the natural thing that it is, and I think that's what most of the residents would agree with. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, is there anyone else in the yellow seats over here before I double back to the front of the row? Okay, I'll come back in a second, please. I'm going to take two people in the front row, and then I'll take the people standing and then in the back.
Excuse me, please put your masks up over your nose. I see two people in the second row. Your masks are below your nose. Please put your please put your mask over your nose.
Thank you. Hello, Mr. Turman.
Good evening. My name is David Turman. Can you hear me?
Yes.
I live at 1420 Sheridan Road. I've lived in the village for 54 years and we raised our family here, living somewhat close to Gilson Park and valuing it enormously. I want to say also that we have used the Lakeview Center for about 20 years. My extended family has a meeting there the day after Thanksgiving, which is for the extended family. And it's been a lovely facility. A building that's 30 years old is not ancient. I mean, it may not be the most modern thing, but it serves very well, and it certainly has served my family very well. And the larger questions, of course, that people have raised, I very much agree with. That is, why spend the money there when there are many other needs that are much more pressing and even more expensive? So thank you for your time.
Thank you, David. Ryrie?
Hi, Ryrie Pelleton, 1115 Lake Avenue. I didn't come planning to say anything, but after a couple of comments, something crystallized for me, and that is that I mentioned to all of you when I interviewed for the position that Lindsay Anderson is holding, that I thought that Lakota Group is doing a tremendous disservice to the board, and I want to reemphasize that. I think that their anecdotal and unscientific methods of getting information are, readily can be easily dismissed. They do not have a tremendous response rate, and of the responses to the survey, have no idea how many of those people actually are also included in their other methods of obtaining information for you. I'm going to suggest to you the possibility of dismissing Lakota and starting again with another firm, and I would recommend the firm that the board used in the past to do a scientifically accurate weighted survey, because that would go a long way towards informing you better about what people actually want. And if communication is an issue, and you have something that is sort of ironclad in the way of a survey that's scientifically weighted and statistically accurate, then it's much easier to be certain when you're making decisions about the validity of your decisions. And it can help people with buy-in. For example, the gentleman who thinks that it's only people in Michigan Avenue who oppose the plans for Lakeview or the rest of the comprehensive plan for Gilson. when Scott Frere said something about the bike group approved the bike plan, which is one-way bike traffic, one lane that goes from the entrance to the dog beach, I just about fell off my seat. I have no idea who or what approved that, but it's ridiculous. And so I urge you to do a better job of taking the pulse of the community. That's all.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, is there anyone standing over here who would like to address us? Please.
Good evening, Board. My name is Don Omer. I live at 1123 Elmwood. Been there for about 20 years. One of the things that I got from reviewing the materials is that there seems to be perhaps an approach to this that the Lakeview Center is underused. And therefore, let's do something to maybe perhaps increase use. But I don't think that that should be a litmus test for interest in Gilson Park, or that this underuse that seems to be pervasive in the materials here means that people aren't satisfied with Gilson Park in the way that it is. And so I don't know that the answer would be to spend money on improving something that is not necessarily premised on the fact that people don't like things the way they are. So I would say, please listen to us tonight and then govern your further decisions based on what we've said. Thank you.
Thanks, Don. Is there anyone else standing over here who would like to address us? All right, the folks behind the yellow seats in the back, let's start on the aisle and then we'll work our way. Please, sir. Yes.
Good evening. I've served on a
What's
board.
your name?
My name is Michael Duffy. I'm at 701 Central. I've served on a board in another village. I know how hard you guys work, and thank you for your service here. I'm not talking about the Lakeview Center tonight, but Gilson Park. And I've noticed something as I go out with my children and we walk around it over the years. Fully a quarter of it is cut off. And it's that road just to the east of Michigan Avenue. I watch it. What it seems to me is just a long, narrow parking lot. You have an attendant as you come in, and I do see him direct people down there to, I assume, make a U-turn. What I see it as, a parking lot and a place to make a U-turn to go back out of Gilson Park. To add green space to Gilson Park, I'd like the board to consider tearing it up. I did the measurements. Over 20,000 square feet of asphalt is there. It's 20 feet wide, and I drove on my automobile. I measured about 0.2 of a mile. You have 2 access roads, so maybe it's a quarter mile, but I worked it up as 0.2 of a mile long with a 20-foot wide road. That's 20,000 square feet of pavement. Consider it. Consider what it does. You cannot walk through there. The cars in the summer are bumper to bumper. You've taken a quarter of the park and removed it. There's another road down by the tennis courts that is blocked down by the portable toilets. It's another one I don't see used, and that one you cannot drive down. So to add green space in a finite area, those are 2 things that I think the board should consider, and thank you very much.
Thank you. Thanks, Michael. Yes, ma'am.
Good evening. My name is Margaret Martin Heaton. I live at 715 Linden Avenue in Wilmette.
Yep. Thank you, Margaret.
Try harder. I've been a board member of Go Green Wilmette since 2009. This morning, Go Green Wilmette sent a letter to the Park Board outlining some suggestions we have pertaining to the Gilson Park Comprehensive Plan, the Lakeview Center, Park District operations, and park management. The letter is too long to read at this meeting, but it is available for all to read on the Go Green Wilmette website, and copies are, or at least were, available here tonight. For the public record, I would like to summarize some key points included in the letter that represent the views of Go Green Wilmette Board of Directors. But first, my colleagues and I would like to thank you all for your dedication to making Wilmette's parks and programming such an integral and enjoyable part of life in our village. We recognize the challenges you face in addressing the needs and desires of the many different constituent groups in our community. Members of the Keep Gilson Green group are, in many cases, our neighbors, colleagues, and friends. Likewise, Steve Wilson and all of the elected Park Board commissioners are also our neighbors, colleagues, and friends. And we understand that you all want to serve the community in a positive way. New Park Board commissioners and members of this audience may not know that the Park District hosted Go Green Wilmette's very first meeting at the Community Recreation Center in 2005 and has been supporting our efforts to create a more sustainable community ever since. We consider the Park District a valued and important partner in our work. As we have shared with the Park District before, Go Green Wilmette generally supports improvements to our parks that integrate sustainable features that will benefit Wilmette now and in the future. As the Park Board considers the Gilson Park Comprehensive Plan, renovations to the Lakeview Center, and improvements to all parks, Go Green Wilmette would like to share some specific suggestions as summarized in our letter. Most of these suggestions have been previously presented to and discussed with Steve Wilson and former Park Board commissioners over the course of many years. But for the purpose of this meeting, the most important part of our communication to the Park Board is the fact that Go Green Wilmette supports enhancements and renovations to the Lakeview Center, including the enlarged viewing deck, to better serve our community, as long as the building footprint is not increased and no additional parking is created. The letter offers 6 positive suggestions that would minimize the impact of the Lakeview Center's renovation project. We also reinforce in the letter our wish that the Park District emphasize the protection and preservation of mature trees, plant additional native trees, shrubs, and plants, and minimize or reduce the amount of impermeable surfaces in the park. The letter includes many additional specific suggestions and concludes by repeating our suggestion that the Park District develop a comprehensive sustainability plan that would include improved management of all natural areas and trees in our parks. Again, the letter is available to read on the Go Green Wilmette website, and there may still be copies available here tonight. I thank you all very much.
Thank you. Thanks, Margaret. Is there anyone else on this side who would like to address us? All right, great. Then I'm going to start on this side in the front. Is there anybody who would like to address us in the front, right in the first row? Yes.
My name is Jerome Kajawa. I am a lifelong resident of Wilmette. That's 65 years, like a 4th, 5th generation Chicago area type resident. And I am a big nature lover, student of I'm in all kinds of environmental groups. I was a lawyer for the United States Environmental Protection Agency for my career. And I am one of the people who wishes Gilson would be allowed to remain as wild as possible. No more fences between the tennis court area, the bathing beach, and the pier. I wouldn't put in any more paths that... And I totally disagree that the building will fall into disrepair if you don't have weddings and receptions and parties. I think you're going to bring in way too much traffic if you encourage use, or like it's a source of funds for the village. And then I have to say, in this packet, you mentioned the lawn to the east, really to the northeast of the center, is underutilized. I go to Gilson every day of my life, all summer long. Some of the summer campers hung out there. They were playing. They had their lunch on those picnic tables. People who are not in summer camp stroll in front of the Wallace Bowl stage. People go up and down the Wallace Bowl stairs. And another thing that I'm appalled at is this survey in here that you wrote it. I would say you're the Vladimir Putin school of posing questions to the citizens. And I say that because Russia, when it wanted to take over Crimea, which was part of the Ukraine, held a referendum, and they had two questions on the referendum. Do you want to become part of the Russian Federation, or do you want to be an independent republic closely affiliated with the Russian Federation? They did not ask the 2 million residents if they wanted to stay part of the Ukraine. You, with this survey, wanted to steamroll through this building and having more activities at the Lakeview Center. You only asked people, when was the last time you were in the center? Would you hold a reception or a party there? Nowhere did you ask anybody in a survey, are you against more activities at Gilson? I think you would find many residents are. Okay? So this, in my opinion, it was skewed so you could steamroll through your building to get more receptions and parties and wedding receptions there.
Thanks, Jerome.
Well, I think it's shameful that you skewed it so badly.
Come on, guys. Hey, we need to. Okay. Thank you.
Yes, hello. Michael Levitan, former Wilmette Park Commissioner back in the 90s. Some of you might not have even been in Wilmette at that point. I've lived in West Wilmette, Mr. Graham, for 57 years.
Excuse me.
So,
please do not address
I'm
anyone
sorry,
else.
but-
Address
okay,
us,
well, I will
address no
address
one
you.
else but us. Is that
Okay.
clear? Otherwise, I'm going to ask you to sit down.
yes, thank you, Mr. Murdoch. But
thank you.
so, having been on the park board, I know these routines. It's great to see all these people come out, even though this vote's going to be unanimous. So I'm not sure what Commissioner Anderson's going to do since she's a newcomer, I guess. But this has all been decided long before. But I encourage you to perhaps postpone the vote. And I heard you said you're doing another survey. Is that correct?
We're doing a survey concerning the Gilson concepts that have been presented at the last committee of the whole meeting.
Not specifically Lakeview or including the Lakeview, but it includes the Lakeview.
It's a survey concerning the concepts that were presented at the last committee of the whole meeting concerning the Gilson master plan.
Okay. And this may have been in here. I haven't been to all the meetings, so I apologize if I'm asking a question that's already been asked or maybe already addressed. But just curious, how much did the architect firm Woodhouse receive so far? And does anybody on this board have any connections with the Woodhouse architect firm? Have they ever utilized them?
Tell you what, if you want to give me a list of questions, I'll be happy to respond to you. But I don't want to do a back and forth.
That's a simple question. There's 7 people here that voted for it.
Hey, guys, please.
I assume that everybody, with the exception of Commissioner Anderson, voted for the expenditure, plus the director should know it. So it should be a figure that's pretty easy to come up with.
I'm not aware of any conflicts of interest, but again, we're not going to do a back and
No,
forth.
but the dollar amount. How much was spent?
The first agreement was $25,000.
Okay. So that's what's been spent so far?
Correct.
Okay. Well, I just have one other point to make, and it's to the residents, kind of. Unfortunately, the turnouts on these elections, in municipal elections, are so low that I encourage you all in 23 and 25 to get out there, vote, file candidacies so there's no unopposed candidates, and take an interest beyond this once a year.
Thank you, Michael. Thank you. Please.
Lordy. I am, after Leslie Wyrick, I live at 1018 Elmwood, and I'm really disappointed in my community tonight. We can agree to disagree, have different visions, but you have got to treat these people with more respect. They are our
Leslie,
friends.
again, if you would please address us, but thank you.
You are our friends and neighbors, and I appreciate what you're doing up here. I really do. And you have our endorsement. You have thousands, hundreds of votes put you at this table, except for you, Lindsay, and I know that's okay. Just because this group that is well-funded and well-organized has been loud and vocal for months does not mean they are the popular opinion in this community. You have our votes. We put you here. We trust you to do the right thing. In 20 years of living here, the Wilmette Park District is the best municipal entity I have ever come across. From registering my kids for classes, from maintenance of the pools, the parks, I have been nothing but impressed with the staff. And I think if the commissioners just get out of the staff's way, that's a good thing. I really am sad about the way people are talking to you because I don't think you deserve that. That there's some nefarious thing going on here. And in fact, what I've seen coming out of keeping Gilson green or keeping Gilson dysfunctional and not usable is really a rhetoric that is not true. I think they're misrepresenting what you're trying to do with the Lakeview Center. I have read nothing in the plans, and I sat here and listened to Tanucci and the whole 4-hour presentation however many months ago. And I agree with 3 other people that spoke tonight, and the fact that Go Green, who's been working in this community for years, is endorsing this project is huge. They have hundreds of members in that organization. They're not doing that willy-nilly. So I think that you have a lot more support than you see here in this room. Local government is about trust. We've elected you. We trust you to do the right thing. You're not in Springfield or Washington, D.C., where we can't pick up the phone and call you and talk to you or see you at the grocery store. I trust you. That's what local government's about. So thanks.
Thank you, Leslie. Is there anyone who would like to address us in the second row? Mary?
Good evening. I'm Mary Shea, a longtime park neighbor, and I would like to just quickly mention that the acuity survey that was done in 2015 said that remodeling Lakeview or doing anything to Lakeview was unimportant. So we can look at that again, but that's not that long ago. The other comment I would make quickly is that Lakeview, this plan would take out trees for convenient parking up at the upper level, the service road, which would be expanded from the beach parking lot, and the desired view enhancement. So my comments tonight are the expansion of Lakeview for the wedding business has been a cherished desire of the Park District for many years. It was planned in 2013, voted down in 2015, and we're now considering it again under the guise of a rainy day shelter. Lakeview was built at staff insistence for offices, bathrooms, and a community meeting space. It has served this function very well. The bathrooms were updated since 1989 and have an ADA family space. ADA didn't exist in 1989, so clearly the bathrooms have been updated. The human presence on the upper level provides a level of safety for the public. This would be removed if we pursue the new plan. The community is suggesting that Lakeview be put on hold until the real needs and costs are identified for the comprehensive plan. A Lakeview redo is not a need or a priority. A possible way forward has been suggested by respected preservationists whose letters appear in the board packet tonight. They recommend the nomination of our treasured and historic Gilson Park to the National Register of Historic Places. The Lakota consultants, responding to the community's comments, have offered Plan 1, which corresponds to this idea. Julia Bachrock and Susan Benjamin are well known to Lakota, who has worked with them on other park projects. Another suggestion was to hire a noted landscape architect to restore the excellent Gilson landscape plan, which has stood the test of time. Think of it. We could all be stewards of this beautiful park, so greatly treasured by the community. We could all do something by preserving it. Thank you.
And Mary, I just want to clarify. I believe I heard you say at the beginning that the Lakeview Center renovation would take out trees.
Yes, I believe that at the top of the upper road where one of the plans, not Plan
So
1.
just again to clarify, you're talking about some of the Gilson comprehensive plan
That's right,
concepts.
that's right. I'm
So it has
looking at-
nothing to do with the Lakeview Centers we're talking about
it
tonight.
will in this
Mary,
going
again,
forward.
just to clarify, you had stated that the Lakeview Center renovations would remove trees, and that's not correct. I just want to clarify that.
Okay,
Thank
but
you.
it may remove trees down at the lower level when you expand the service road and when
That's
you.
not part of what we're discussing tonight, just to
Well,
clarify.
it is part of Lakeview. Okay.
No, Mary, and again, we are going to take a look at the Gilson plan. And again, I just want to make sure that we all have accurate information. Piper, did you want to address us?
Piper Rothschild, 1046 Elmwood. Spending $1 million to expand Lakeview is unjustified and unwise. You say that it's not an expansion because you're not changing the footprint. That is specious and would allow you to build a 5 or 10-story building as if it was on the same footprint. Even your own architect, Mr. Tanucci, has called it an expansion. Adding programs to Lakeview is expansion. District policy has always been to not allow programs in Gilson that can be held elsewhere in the district. Your proposal document makes clear that your real intent is to expand to allow larger and larger events and weddings with more and more people, up to 200 even on summer weekends. Until this summer, district policy was not to allow any events or weddings on summer weekends, and with good reason. Those 200 people will only add to the overcrowding and parking issues we all face on hot summer days. A March 2021 Park District memo supports the idea that your true interest in Lakeview is revenue generation. Why do you need to generate more revenue? Your own projections show a $10 million surplus for this year. Why is the Park District now in the party business in the middle of Wilmette's most treasured asset? We've also heard from you that Lakeview must be expanded for people who can't navigate the sand. You want to spend $1 million to protect campers from the rain or establish a nature center. None of this is mentioned in your proposal. The fact that Lakeview is 30 years old is not enough to warrant a $1 million expansion. A governmental body charged with handling public funds should not expand without a compelling reason. I agree that you are responsible for maintaining and updating your buildings, and I support that. But that does not mean expanding or over-improving them. Residents soundly defeated Lakeview expansion as part of the 2015 referendum. No board since then has raised the issue until this board in June of 2021. What is the rush, and why are you so eager to expand? Your unscientific survey doesn't support it. You failed to ask residents the most basic question: should the Park District spend $1 million to expand Lakeview? Only 2 people attended your open houses. You ignored the 75-plus people who showed up 2 weeks ago to oppose expansion. A well-recognized local architect questions the viability of your plans. 2 nationally recognized experts on local architecture and parks history oppose your plans. A financial expert states that no feasible path exists to recover the invested dollars. The independent League of Women Voters asks that you slow down and be more transparent to residents. Why are you ignoring all of them and the will of the people? We have other, more important, more pressing, very expensive needs at Gilson. Broken roads and sewers, costing $4 million. Shoring up the bluff at Langdon, at least $2 million. Drainage issues, improving bike and pedestrian access, planting trees to fight climate change. Expanding Lakeview is a want and a distraction. It is not a need. Please have the courage to do what is right and do not approve it. Thank you.
Thank you, Piper. Is there anybody else who would like to address us on this in the second row? In the third row? Yes, please.
It says don't touch the microphones.
Oh, no, please do. Line them up so we can hear you.
Just so everybody knows as you come up, there's this top section right here that is flexible. This section right here, flexible, you can point this part. It's this firm part that is not supposed to be bent, which is why it says don't touch it.
Yeah, I was just being funny, sorry. Hi, my name is Sarah Schmidt. I live at both 835 and 845 Michigan. I've only addressed you guys once before, and I remember it vividly because I was sick, like 8.5 months pregnant and about to burst with my 5th child. And I was begging you guys to reconsider the plan for a bird sanctuary. At a minimum, I was asking you to budget for proper maintenance of the beds. Today, I live across from the weed sanctuary. Maintenance consists of mowing the grass, what is left of the grass. The beds are overgrown, species have died out and been taken over by the more dominant ones, and it isn't pretty. It isn't attractive. And it makes the use of that beautiful section of park very difficult. There's no budget for maintenance, and the volunteer effort that was promised has not, appeared. And I'm there every day, and I would see if we were having some serious effort toward maintenance. So today I'm going to ask you just to consider 2 things. One, I don't understand why we're pulling out this Lakeview Center apart from a strategic plan to address our whole park. So in addition to a center that, yes, I do agree needs some updating, no argument there. I'd love to have some roadways prior to a wedding being hosted there that are like scooterable. I'd like my 5-year-old to be able to scooter through the park without falling in a crack. I'd like to take my 80-year-old mother who's living with me for a walk in the park and have her be able to traverse the blacktop, before a wedding is hosted there. So maintenance, I'd like maintenance to really be considered as part of this, and I feel like it's been really missed. And our park staff over there are phenomenal guys. My kids all know them because they also drive a John Deere. It's very small in comparison, but we've gotten to know them, and they're talented, committed people, but they're understaffed. And I think there's a lack of really good supervision around how we maintain our gorgeous park. Secondly, safety. When Chicago decided not to open up their beaches, we did. Bold move. I'm glad we did. But a whole new, huge crop of people discovered our amazing park. And we weren't prepared for the safety issues that we're going to follow. The park is overrun. The beaches are packed. Parking is a nightmare. I live on a street that has become like a drag strip, not just on Saturday, not just on Sunday, but every day of the summer, to the point where I've gated my driveway to protect my kids who might, the proverbial ball rolls into the street kind of thing. I mean, it really is that dangerous. And it's become a problem. I mean, I'm on a first name basis with our police department. And they've even said, hey, look, Sarah, we don't have enough resources to keep someone in the parking lot on the weekends. We wish we did.
Thanks, Sarah.
And that's a real issue. And I think if we can't address safety, then having these big events puts us at a huge risk, and we're diverting resources. There's a lot of other issues that our police have to deal with. Let's not create more crisis for them at the park. Let's let the park be the park. Let's enjoy the green space.
Thank you. All right. Is there somebody else in the third row who would like to address us?
Hello, I'm Lori Farrell, and I'm a part of Keep Gilson Green. I will say that you can throw your tomatoes or whatnot, but I'm simply here to report that since we formed the beginning of July, we created a change.org petition, which simply and very broadly stated, please stop unnecessary spending, unsolicited expansion and monetization, unwelcome destruction of mature trees, and unwarranted lack of commitment to what's best for preserving the quality of life for Wilmette Village residents. Since that time, we've garnered 835 signatures, Since that time, we've purchased 400 yard signs, and we've placed all but about 30 of those throughout the village. Approximately 25 of those are on Michigan Avenue as a means of self-disclosure. So I just simply want to say there are a lot of people who've signed off who are not here tonight voicing their opinions. I've always had a lot to say, so I will just simply take this time to say thank you for your service, because I've not really done that in the past. And I know you guys not only serve on this committee as a whole, but all of the subcommittees that you do serve on, and that is a huge time commitment, and I appreciate that as a fellow resident. Thank you.
Thank you, Lori.
Could I ask a quick question?
Do you want a copy of this?
You know what I'd love to see? Could you repeat what your survey is asking people to sign up for?
Well, the tenet of what we put this, if you want me to read the survey or the petition.
The petition question.
It just says, Dear Board of Commissioners for the Wilmette Park District, recently the board has begun to discuss further plans to renovate and redesign Gilson Park, including the Lakeview Center. We understand that the Wilmette Park District has a responsibility to maintain Gilson Park and its environs using Wilmette residents' property taxpayers' money to do so. We request...
I'm sorry, I'm going to interrupt you. You said something else before.
Yeah, so when we...
Denigration of trees and...
When you establish, when you create the interface with the public, you kind of say what it is that you are, why you're asking for them to take a look.
So
and then...
could you restate it for me? What you said? The denigration of trees and whatever else it was?
We just said to the Park Board Lakefront Committee and larger Park Board District Board, please stop unnecessary spending, unsolicited expansion and monetization, unwelcome destruction of mature trees, and unwarranted lack of commitment to what's best for preserving quality of life for Wilmette Village residents. And then the petition itself, which people...
I'm just writing down. What was it? You said after destruction of trees. What was the last part?
After what?
The last part, after the destruction of trees, the unwanted or unwarranted...
Unwarranted lack of commitment to what's best for preserving quality of life for Wilmette Village residents.
To quality of life. Okay. I just want to make sure that because I would sign that petition too. I'm just saying.
Right. Well, and, when this all started, we were working off of a very broad presentation of the comprehensive plan. And then after the fact, the Lakeview Center was removed from that comprehensive plan. And so it's been hard for us to know when to kind of present this, because at the start of when we formed, Lakeview was a part of that comprehensive plan. Since then, it's been pulled out, but we felt like, as a matter of integrity, we couldn't take those signatures and be like, oh, now we're going to just oppose the Lakeview Center. We, as a matter of integrity, said, well, we just have to keep the petition as it was originally established for people.
Even though it's not accurate, you still wanted to collect signatures.
What's not accurate about it?
Well... the destruction of trees, the lack of quality of life.
This is not time for you to address us.
I mean, when are we unwarrantedly destroying trees and lack of a commitment to the quality of life? So that's my complaint about the signatures you've collected as a validation.
Well, the surveys were not indicated as a part of the process until after Keep Gilson Green pushed back. And I don't know, maybe you guys, that was possibly in the works before we started this. All we knew is that we saw what the original concept plans from Lakota were. We didn't like how those plans looked. We didn't like and we just felt...
Patrick, I'm going to jump in here just real quickly. And certainly, I know you're going to have a chance to address the community here. But Lori, thank you for coming up, for giving your comment, and then addressing the comment.
And I'm happy to leave this so you can, quote us.
Please,
that's
feel
fine.
free.
Thank you very much.
We'll be happy to accept it. If you'd give it to Catherine. Catherine, we'll make it a part of the record. Thank you very much. I appreciate it, Lori. And I believe there was somebody else, yes, in the third row.
It'll be short and sweet. My name is Lynn Martin. I live at 1017 Miami Road in Wilmette, and I'm all in favor of the hard work you've done in presenting a renovation of the Lakeview Center. I think it would be a great asset to our community, and thank you very much.
Thank you.
And one other thing, I went 2 days ago to have my grandchildren take their Christmas card picture, and she's not kidding how bad the road is in Gilson. I hope that might be a plan to renovate that at the same time, because it is really in deplorable condition.
Absolutely. Is there anyone in the third row still? I'm sorry, yes. Oh, yeah, how are you?
Hello, I'm Alyssa Morganti at 1330 Sheridan Road. And I wrote a letter to the board. I was just going to read it out loud. As an architect and a resident of Wilmette for the past 27 years, I have great concern about how fast the Lakeview renovation plans are moving forward without proper exploration of the ramifications and without strong support from the Wilmette community. I have reviewed the conceptual plans prepared by Woodhouse Tanucci Architects and have several concerns listed. The excerpt from the Wilmette Park District Lakeview renovation site states that there'll be no expansion of the footprint, and that currently that upper floor is 2,300 square feet, and that with the renovation, taking out all the interior walls, it will be 2,840 square feet. This is achieved by removing all the offices and moving the main entrance to the lower level. The graph from the Wilmette Park District outlines the current occupancy for the rooms as they exist now and what the proposed occupancy will be. However, once the proposed retractable walls are fully pocketed into the walls, the calculations will be based on the full 2,840 square feet. Thus, instead of the Gilson room going from 26 to 56, as stated on the website, or the Lakeview room going from 80 to 96, the new open floor plan of 2840 by our building code will permit 186 occupants to sit down for lunch or dinner. It will also allow for a 500-person standing cocktail party or a 350-person seated concert or lecture. My point is the chart is very misleading. Residents are already expressing concern about the scale of events that would be held on the upper floor, but the numbers you're using are not accurate and don't represent actually the incredible variety of functions that could happen there. Another concern I have is that's not being addressed is the ADA compliance. Has anyone verified with our building inspector and with the building code what triggers the requirement for a commercial elevator in the building? The way you are proposing to phase the construction of the building gives me pause that at any point an inspector of the building will say that it no longer meets ADA compliance. Currently, each floor is ADA compliant. However, I know from experience when an inspector thinks too much work is being done and the integrity and function of a building has been substantially changed, the new design is then forced to meet new ADA requirements, which would be a commercial elevator, which is very expensive. In the upper, here's a question, just if the upper level is rented out for an afternoon function during the week, a baby shower, a fundraiser, birthday party, and it's a rainy day, where will the great Gilson campers seek refuge when it's thunder and lightning? The proposed plan gets rid of current concession areas on the lower level, and the offices currently on the upper level move down there. Where will all the storage, where will all the stuff that's in there now go? Will the items that are currently being stored in the lower level go when the offices and new programming are developed in the lower level? Another concern is regarding the budget. Is there a plan or a WPD budget specific for Gilson that lists all of the capital improvement projects required, all the infrastructure projects required, and all the maintenance projects, and where will all of that capital come from for each of them? I'm concerned that the 1.2 budget for the proposed Lakeview Center improvement seems, in my professional opinion, to be about 30 to 50% too low. I believe that through further design and permitting process, this budget will balloon. 7, the building could definitely be refreshed with new paint and carpet and decor, and it will look much more current. The work that's being proposed for the lower level requires everything that is currently stored to find a new location. Once these areas are cleared out, that space can be cleaned up and made more suitable for programming as the current plan illustrates. There is no need to reconfigure the upper level in order to achieve the desired functions on the lower level. In conclusion, if the goal is to update the finishes of the building because it is old and tired, and to increase programming options, I am certain that there are other design solutions. A solution which would not include the large-scale programming currently designed for this current scheme. Much of the community has made it clear that we do not want the Lakeview Center being rented out for any larger functions than it already is designed for.
Thank you, Alyssa. Thank you.
Oh, okay.
Is there anyone else in the third row? Moving to the fourth row. Is there anybody? Yes, Ellen.
Probably don't need the mics. Alan Golden, 2516 Laurel Lane, 34-year resident.
You really shouldn't come out in public dressed like that.
Just for you, Commissioner Murdoch, just for you. So my thesis tonight is a little bit different, but it does echo some of the other speakers we've heard. I wrote a letter to the Park Board, which thank you for including in the packet. Sorry about that. Thank you for including my last letter in the packet. I'm going to just briefly highlight some of the points in that letter for those people who probably didn't want to read the 175-page board packet tonight. Since you've removed the Lakeview Center from the Gilson Master Plan, that actually makes this a little easier. Obviously, there are very, very important things that have to happen in Gilson Park. We all know this. We have infrastructure issues, landscape plans, rejuvenation, lakefront erosion issues, especially at Langdon, dune stabilization. Many people mention how bad the roads are. I think all of us in the room want to see those things done. I don't think anyone would say, don't fix the roads. But those things have to have a priority list. What are your priorities? Where are you going to spend money, and when are you going to spend that money? So my suggestion, since you've already removed the Lakeview Center from the Gilson Master Plan, is take a step back, go up 40,000 feet, and take a look. Let's get the Gilson Master Plan set. Let's set your priorities for Gilson Park, see how that looks, and then circle back. What's left over? How much money do we have? How long is it going to take us to fix the things we have to fix in Gilson Park? And then come back and do the things that are nice to have when we have time and money for them. This is just standard project planning. It's not really rocket science. Also, I included in my letter, and thank you again for publishing it, I took the survey results and reran the numbers as raw numbers and not percentages, which I think is much more indicative of what the survey says. And it appears that most people use the Lakeview Center for the bathrooms. And that's pretty much it. The other thing is that, again, you can hold events there now. This is not something that's prohibited. They're just not going to be particularly large events, which again is something that and from my ears, the community is saying, it's okay, just we don't want anything really big. So again, I would urge the board to take a step back, let's get Gilson straightened out, and then worry about Lakeview. Thank you very much for your time.
Thanks, Alan. Yes, ma'am.
Hi, my name is Gina Speckman. I live at 2215 Washington, and I'm not going to say how long I've lived in Wilmette because it's completely irrelevant. I say this because I'm 60 years old, and I live on a block where it is in the last year, all new families. We are the old people now on the block. And I am happy that you are looking for the future of Wilmette and what we could be in the future. I don't care what it looked like 40 years ago. I don't care about, I want to keep it green, but I also want progress. I don't want potholes, but I would love for the Lakeside Center to be renovated. I went there 2 years ago for a friend's wedding. It is a dump. I was embarrassed. I mean, I don't know how anyone can say that is a decent event space for anybody, kids or adults or weddings. Yeah, there's a reason why they don't host a lot of events there. It's a dump. What is wrong with updating it? What is wrong with making it, not just putting paint and carpet in it, but making it a place that people want to be? And what is wrong with families throughout the village being able to have life cycle events there for generations to come? What is wrong with having it accessible for everyone and an option when people are planning family events? I do not see that as a negative at all. So I guess I want to thank you for your service. I do hope the comprehensive plan goes through. I would love for the Lakeside Center to be renovated as planned. And thank you for letting me speak.
Thank you. Yes, ma'am.
I'm Nancy Hickman. I live at 3136 Sprucewood Road, and I'm here to speak as a resident from West Wilmette. These are not the people that are opposing the renovations and the improvements in Lakeview Center are not just the people that live along Sheridan Road or Michigan Avenue. I support trees and the maintenance of the park as a park. I'm not opposed to maintaining the buildings. I really call into question the budgets that's been proposed for the Lakeview Center, and knowing that this is only a part of the project that you are considering. I think in terms of a future survey that you might do, you'll get a much better response from the community if you give us an idea of how much these proposals are going to be costing. When we did the sewer program within the village to help with flooding, I mean, we had 1, 2, and 3 in terms of proposals, and there were dollar figures attached to them. It was a lot easier to make a decision and to place your vote. So I would urge you to reconsider the direction that you're taking and listen to the community. I've heard some support during the meetings that I have attended for the Lakeview Center, but I've heard overwhelming questions about the amount of money and the fees and the programs that you are going to support. I think we would like Wilmette to be for Wilmette residents as much as for outsiders that come to our village and use the lakefront most every Saturday and Sunday during the summer. Thank you.
Thank you, Nancy. Yes, sir.
Thank you for the opportunity. I'm Steve Lader, residing at 515 Greenleaf. My comments tonight are primarily focused on the deck expansion, and my understanding is that a premise for this expansion is we would like to afford residents and visitors an opportunity to better view the lake. And specifically, there were comments, I believe, Mr. Murdoch, that those who have an inability or a lack of a desire to get their toes in the sand, we should afford them this opportunity. But I believe this premise to be flawed. The reason I believe it to be flawed, if any of us go and spend time on that deck or interior, there are very, very limited views of the lake. They are scant views of the lake when the trees are in full foliage, and our wonderful new beach house further precludes views. So ostensibly, yes, there's a view, but it's not this magnificent, oh my goodness, what an event, look at the lake. The lake is really hard to see from the Lakeview Center. What this expansion...
Steve, I'm going to interrupt just for 1 second. I apologize. I did make that comment, and by the way, I agree with you. I think those views are limited for a good section of the year. So I would acknowledge that. And I'm
Thank
sorry
you.
to interrupt. I apologize.
Yeah, no, thank you.
But I would acknowledge that. Thank
Fair enough. Thank you very much. But that is a stated premise for why the deck, so perhaps we could reconsider the deck. I will suggest what the deck will do is obstruct views from many other vantage points in the lake. Right now, sitting in the Wallace Bowl, looking at the stage, and if I were to glance around almost 360 degrees, I'm encapsulated in green. It's a lovely setting. Now, sitting in the Wallace Bowl, should the deck go through, I'll be looking at a hulk of elevated deck. I just believe it to be incompatible. Second comment would be, given that the deck is outdoors, it will be operational approximately 6 months per year. And if this is indeed to try to drive revenue, which I believe it to be, or certainly an element of it is to drive revenue, that deck would, I presumably, not be used when there is Wallace Bowl programming. I would hope not, that there would be a conflict there. My point being that I think opportunities to actually rent this deck out during the season are very limited. So I would question the revenue opportunity. I would say that there certainly will be cost. You know, what would the plan be to remove snow loads in the winter? Is that an ongoing expenditure for the park? And I'd be concerned about that. And I'll close with, I know there have been comments made that people who oppose this have lack of credibility because they did not speak up against the expansion of the deck at Sheridan Shore. I would just point out that these are two very different constructs. At Lakeview Center, we're talking about taxpayer dollars. At Sheridan Shore, we're talking about private dollars. Thank you. I encourage you all to please slow down, reevaluate, and reintegrate Lakeview proposals into a more comprehensive Gilson plan. Thank you.
Thanks, Steve. Is there anybody else in that row? Yes, ma'am.
Good evening, Betsy Sillers, 1507 Washington, and I'd like to thank you for your service. And thinking of that word, service, you serve us. So I would like to remind you of that. People come here speaking passionately. You service the community and its members. And I'm not disappointed in this community. I am proud of this community and all the people here tonight who took the time out of their evening to come here and speak passionately about something that's important to them and that they care about. And according to our Constitution, people are allowed freedom of speech to speak passionately, and they don't have to be nice about it. Thank you.
Thanks, Betsy. Is there anybody else in the fifth row? Yes. Hello.
Hi, I'm Kathy Pratt. I'm at 1326 Greenwood Avenue, and I've just come to voice my support for what you're doing for the Lakeview Center. I have spent many a meeting there, and I do agree that it is tired, it is outdated, it is definitely in need of renovation. If you have not been there, you should go there because it needs help. It does. I think if we don't do this expenditure now, we're going to be doing it in the next 5 to 10 years anyway. So I thank you for your efforts. I want to compare this a little bit to what happened with the beach house, where there was a lot of opposition to that. And we went ahead with the newer plan, the better plan, and ended up with a thing of beauty. I thank you all for your service, and thank you.
Thank you, Kathy. Is there anyone in the sixth row? Yes, sir.
Good evening. My name is David Gussman. I live at 1234 Chestnut, and I've been a resident for many, many years. I come to speak to the commissioners. I have been a public servant as you have. I'm sorry. I come to speak to you and the commissioners. I want to thank you for your time. I, too, have been a public non-paid commission member on a state board. I understand how difficult it is to take criticism. I understand how difficult it is to listen to your fellow citizens and keep an open mind. But I would ask that you do that tonight. I would ask that you defer a decision on this project for many, many reasons that you've heard tonight. I think if you're going to do something, it should be a comprehensive decision. This seems to be a tip of the iceberg. We're going to be at this many, many times going forward. You're going to have rooms full of people coming here and raising their concerns if you don't do it on a business-like, comprehensive approach. Determine what the overall needs are for the park. Survey people and determine what they really want in a legitimate survey. I've read the criticisms of the survey. I think they're legitimate. It's hard to question. I'm not a community activist. I've actually never been to one of these meetings in the 30-some years I've lived here. But this drew me out because I don't understand a simple question, and I ask you to consider it. What is the rush? What is so important that you need to approve this tonight? A 1.2 million expansion, we all know what that means. It's going to be a lot more than 1.2 million when we're done. It's not falling down. There aren't people lined up to have weddings there. I think you should take a pause, take a break, listen to many of your citizens, and develop a comprehensive plan based on need and priority. And for the center itself, why expand it? What is the need that you're trying to address in spending this money? You have money, I get it. Unfortunately, Illinois is the second highest property tax in this country. And it's in part by little decisions like this where people spend other people's money without need expressed and without any purpose that's defined. I see I've been told to stop. I'm not sure what that means, or maybe it's a controller.
We have a 3-minute limit. Yes,
and
thanks, David.
I will. But I'll conclude by saying, please listen to your fellow citizens. I do appreciate, and they do appreciate all the time you're spending. It's not fun. But I would ask that you listen, especially to people that have come here perhaps for their first time ever to express their views. Thank you.
Is there any... Please, guys, please. Is there anyone else in the 6th row who would like to address us? Yes, ma'am. Olga. Hello, Olga.
Hi, I'm Olga Domshenko, 2034 Elmwood, way far from Gilson Park. I feel a lot of tension and anger in this room. I really do. It's so palpable. You can cut it with a knife. I'm angry, very angry, and passionate about the environment, about open space. And I don't feel that, and I've been here for 22 years in Wilmette, I've gone to so many meetings, I've written so many letters. I feel, and I'm Ukrainian, by the way, I know what Putin did to Ukraine, and I sometimes feel like I'm begging my public bodies, please listen, it's climate change. Climate change, 25,000 people are going to Glasgow because climate change is happening. We have to think very carefully about anything we do to the environment at this point. Gilson Park, I'll tell you, I've lived here for 22 years. I've gone there maybe 3 or 4 times, 5 times, but I love it. I'm passionate about it. I don't live near it. It's the lungs of Wilmette. Gilson Park, Mallinckrodt Park, you've got to keep these green spaces green. Lakeview Center, disagree. You don't need $1 million to renovate it. A building that's 30 or 40 years old, that's not old. Do you want to renovate the Roman Colosseum? Do you want to, I mean, seriously, somebody who calls it a dump, come to my house. I wonder what you would think. It's 100 years old. I don't renovate it every other year. But, it's personal opinion. But I am proud to be part of these groups. This group, we're angry, we're passionate, but that's what it is. When you feel strongly about something, you get angry. Don't hit somebody, don't kill them. But we're passionate about open space. We're angry because we feel we haven't been listened to. I've been living here for 22 years, and I have seen it. We don't feel that you're stewards of the land. I would suggest to anyone who wants to learn about open space, preserving it, read Teddy Roosevelt, Aldo Leopold, John Muir, Henry David Thoreau, people who protected the land, who revered it, who loved it, who knew what it meant, whether you live 100 miles from it, 2,000 miles. We have to learn to protect what we have and not whittle away at precious open space. And we have to be fiscally responsible. And we can't just fritter away money. Please listen to all of us. Those who love what you're doing, those who don't. But I'll say it again, climate change, every tree, every piece of open space that you protect matters. And again, I don't go to Gilson Park, but I'm passionate about protecting it for posterity, for the future. And again, it's the lungs. We don't live anywhere near the Amazon.
Thank you.
They're the lungs of the world. Thank you.
Is there anybody in the seventh row who would like to address us? Yes, please. I was going to go to the folks standing next. You've been very patient standing back here.
Hello, my name is Brad Reef. I live at 2425 Kenilworth Avenue. That's a hard speech to follow, so I'll just make 2 points. This is my first exposure to this controversy, besides being passively looking at it. But 2 things just stick out to me as an economist, as someone who looks at plans all the time. One is the survey that this is based on. If that was the reason to do this, or if that was somehow used to justify it, the survey itself seemed very weak, self-selected group, and didn't address the right questions. Sorry. And the second issue that I don't understand is pulling out the Lakeview Center from the overall master plan for Gilson Park. Because the Lakeview Center, the improvement center, are going to have an impact on the park, so it should be part of the overall plan. And that's my 2 comments.
Thanks, Brad. All right, is there anyone sitting in the back behind the yellow chairs on this side? All right, yes, please come on up.
Good evening, Frank Rabia. We live on 1506 Washington, so it's not close to Gilson, but we use it all the time. We've been here 17 years, been there every year, many, many days a year. So I don't want to repeat anything that's been said here, only add my voice, because I don't appreciate prior comments that would say that the disagreement with the plans was only voiced by the neighbor resident to Gilson. Gilson is to everybody in Wilmette. It's part of the entire community. My family and I and our neighbors live far from Gilson, and yet we enjoy it all the time. I also want to recognize you for your service. I understand what you're doing. I understand the duties of board members, particularly elected board members. And I'm not angry tonight, but I'm disappointed. From a governance standpoint, I would be reconciled with this board and its role and your roles if you demonstrated you actually are listening to your constituents. And the voice is very clear in the room. It's only my second attending this board, and I think it will be back. The consensus is very clear. Please postpone this plan about the Lakeview Center and integrate it into the wholesome comprehensive plan for Gilson. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else on this side, anybody standing in the back who would like to address us? Beth?
My name is Beth Butcher, and I live at 1420 Sheridan in Wilmette. After attending the Lakefront Committee meeting on October 4th, I decided to do some research relative to the question of public safety in Gilson. And the reason why I'm doing this is I think there are many people in Wilmette who do not come to Gilson Park and do not utilize Gilson Park itself or the Lakeview Center because they've kind of given up. They feel it's overcrowded. It's not for them anymore. One of the things that I think was raised during the October 4th meeting that I think this park board has not looked at and has not explained is what role its policies have contributed to the overcrowding and congestion within the park. One of the things I decided to do was to get the Wilmette Police Department statistics as well as Fire Department statistics for the last 3 years relative to calls in Gilson Park. And over the last 3 years, just for the Wilmette Police Department, there have been 1,856 calls. There are a variety of categories for those calls. I have not yet had an opportunity to look at all of the reports. Both the police department and the fire department, the requests were specifically to within Gilson and within the immediate area outside of Gilson, and they have very good statistics, and they were very willing to share them. And what they told me was, I'd give you all 1,856 reports, but that's a lot. So maybe we can look and see if all these apply. But I will tell you that a number of the categories clearly do apply, with ordinance violations, parking enforcement, parking problems, theft, theft under $300, all sorts of different things. Disorderly conduct, DUIs. So I think there is a valid point among a lot of Wilmette residents who say, I don't want to see anything spent on these parks. I don't want my money being spent if all it's going to do is draw more behavior to these parks that are unsafe and are keeping me away from these parks. I would ask that this park board not rush, but actually look at all the things that are needs relative to Gilson. Public safety is one, not just on the surface, but some of the underlying issues that have not been publicly addressed by this board. Even in your voucher list for tonight, over $2,000 were approved to pay the Wilmette Police Department just for the last month. I believe it was the month of September. You haven't even accounted to the people of Wilmette how much the police presence has increased in Gilson Park in the last few years.
Thanks,
I would think any comprehensive plan should take a deep look into those factors. Thank you.
Thanks, Beth. Thank you. I think I saw someone over here who wanted to address us yet. Yes.
Good evening, Michelle Andrew, 407 Central Avenue. And I just have a quick question. I appreciate hearing from all the community members. I appreciate your service. Why did the Lakeview Center get pulled from the comprehensive plan? Are you able to answer that question? Because it seems like it's just creating a distraction, and I don't understand the rationale for it. And it sounds like many others don't as well.
Yeah, actually, and Julia, you did such a nice job answering that at the last committee meeting, and then I'll add a little bit to it as well.
And I apologize, I wasn't at that meeting.
No, it's okay. And I think you're the last comment, so we're about to begin our discussion anyway. So,
Great.
Yeah,
I think this is a really important question. I'm glad to hear it asked. I'm also glad to see so many people who were at the October 4th meeting here again. So thank you for your interest in this process. 2 years ago, when we began the Gilson Comprehensive Plan project, the question of Lakeview came up. Is it in or out? And the answer is the wayfinding, the areas around Lakeview, the way that the traffic, the curbs, the landscaping, all of that is included in the comprehensive plan. What is not included is an interior renovation, because that isn't a master plan element, but we understand the implications of and the connectedness of this. I was one of the commissioners, as are some of the others who are among the more tenured on this dais. I was one of the commissioners who said, if we try to put everything in, such as the renovation of Wallace Bowl, or we try to include the details of the renovation of the interior, it will prevent us from doing the number one thing that we need to do, which is improve the infrastructure. That is my first and foremost concern. And many of you who have lived here at least 6 years, but anyone who's lived here 6 years or more knows that the 2015 plan was defeated partially because of the size and the scope. And there are other reasons, certainly. But what the result was, because the commissioners of the park and the staff of the park district went back and said, let's find another way to do this in a cost-effective, thoughtful way and build a beach house. And I think many of us will agree, opinions aside, many of us will agree that that turned out really well. I'm concerned that if we don't address the Gilson Comprehensive Plan now, we won't fix curbs, broken sewers, and other issues. And so people have said it's been taken out. That is a misnomer. It was never in. So I want to just make sure we are really clear on this element, because it creates a lot of confusion. And I appreciate that there's public concern that it has been maybe slipped away. I don't want that to be a statement that is made. It was never in, because it's an interior renovation. So I just want to make sure we have a little bit finer point on that. I am happy to, as I mentioned at the Lakeview meeting, if anyone would like to have coffee and discuss this item, I would like to. I'm still waiting. I had one taker, but we are eager to get public comment on this, and not just tonight, but all the other times to come regarding the Gilson Comprehensive Plan. I hope that has helped clear up just a little bit this thought of it was taken out.
Thanks, Julia. And I would pick up on that because I was actually on the other side of the conversation. But having said that, as Julia had said, it was our intent to accelerate the Gilson Master Plan. And we did want to address sewers and roads and some other serious issues there. I know someone spoke earlier about the bad condition of especially Upper Drive, and we're all certainly very much aware of that. Now, I honestly thought that we would have a master plan for Gilson by now. I thought we would have had one a number of months ago. But again, as I think you are all aware, when we going through the pandemic, we did have some challenges getting some feedback. And at the start of this summer, we really didn't feel like we had adequate feedback. And so I think you heard from this board, from this group here, that we really did want additional feedback. And so we reset that process, and that process has become a much more involved and a longer process. And just as what happened with the community playfields, and that started out as a fairly animated process, I think in the end we ended up in a really good place, and I'm confident we will with the Gilson Master Plan as well. I would just add to your comments that from my perspective, again, it was always the intent that the master plan would be completed before we came to the Lakeview Center, but I don't see this as a major project. And this is an interior renovation of an existing space, and it's obviously substandard to our other facilities throughout the park, and that's how I look at it, and that's why I'm comfortable moving forward before the Gilson plan is done. But I have a few other comments that I would like to make as well, but I just want to make sure before we go into the commissioners' discussion, does anyone else wish to address us this evening? Great. Okay. Thank you very much.
You might not see it as a major project.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. You did have an opportunity to address us. I'm sorry, that's not appropriate. Thank you. Again, as I was about to say, I wanted to thank everyone that this obviously is, a lot of people are very passionate, and that's one of the things that makes our community great. People really care. And, this has been a very orderly meeting. I appreciate the way that everyone respected everyone else's views, even when you disagreed with someone else. I sincerely appreciate this. This is a large crowd. At the last meeting and with a few folks here this evening, I've heard people say, you're not listening. And as a matter of fact, after the Lakeview Center meeting, I believe someone in attendance sent a note out to the broader community, specifically addressing me, that I was on my phone for a good chunk of that meeting. And the fact of the matter is I was taking notes. And so I just wanted to anyone who was at the Lakeview Center meeting a couple of weeks ago, I wasn't necessarily looking as people were addressing us, as I certainly tried to do today. So if anyone thought that I wasn't listening, or if anyone thought that I was disrespectful in any way, I sincerely apologize. But I can assure you, I was listening, and the other commissioners there were listening that night, just as we're all listening tonight. I think that often when people say you're not listening, what you really try to say is I don't think you're doing what I want you to do. And I understand that perspective, but again, I think back in, one of the folks who lives near Thornwood Park, he and I were involved in a long discussion when I was last on the board concerning lights at Thornwood Park. And we had a very large group in this room for that night as well, and very passionate people, and a lot of people, the vast majority of people spoke out very strongly against putting lights in Thornwood Park for an ice rink. And the fact of the matter is, I think that night I did hear also, well, you're not listening to us. You're not doing what we're telling you to do. And in my opinion, in that case, knowing what I know about lighting and lighting variations and the impact of light, I just didn't think the arguments that were made that evening were meaningful to me personally. That doesn't say that that's not for other people as well, but I certainly listened to what everybody said. And in the end, I voted in favor of the lights. And I think now looking back, I think that's been a great resource for our community. I think it's the concerns that folks had about lighting in the park turned out to be unwarranted. And I think there are a lot of parallels here. I don't believe the renovations that we're discussing are going to harm the park. I don't believe they're going to harm the neighborhood. I think the opposite. I think they are going to improve the park. I think they're going to create a wonderful amenity for our community and for everyone in our community. I've had a ton of conversations over the last couple of weeks and going back even further, and I thank so many people who spent so much time with me, trying to understand what was going on and understand what these concerns are and why these concerns are so passionate. I've come to realize we clearly do have a problem, but the problem isn't the renovations of the Lakeview Center. I mean, again, this is an interior renovation of a facility that has been neglected for a long, long time. It's a facility that is substandard relative to the rest of our facilities. The problem is that so many folks in town simply don't trust us. And I want to talk about that. I think it's a serious issue, and I want to bring it out front, and I want to deal with it. And, I've wondered, why is it that people don't trust us? And we heard some of it earlier tonight. I want to address it that, we've heard at the last meeting, we heard again tonight that the Langdon referendum, and specifically, but also Gilson, was a problem, and there were a lot of people who felt that was a mistake. As I was hearing at the last meeting and again tonight, I was thinking a little bit about that, and I voted against that referendum too. I don't think anybody up here in this board voted in favor of the Langdon referendum. Now, I actually did vote in favor of Gilson, but the part of the Gilson plan that I didn't like was actually the Lakeview Center plan. It thought it was an expansion. It included a major catering kitchen. It included an elevator to nowhere. And I didn't think that fit with the community for me personally. I think this plan is very different. But again, going back to Langdon, and I heard it again 2 weeks ago, and I've heard it many other times, there are a lot of folks in town who think that because that park board at that time brought that referendum forward, that then somehow says something about this staff and this park board. And I just fundamentally disagree with that. But I will say, and I'm not sure we've ever said it, but as the park board president today, I will say that the Langdon referendum was a mistake. And as I said, I didn't vote for it. So I hope we can put that in the past and move on. Let's take a look at what this park board has done and how we've engaged the community. And let's start by taking a look at what happened at the community playfields. There was a lot of angst, again, at the start of that process, and there were a lot of folks that came to a lot of meetings, and they were concerned about a lot of different things. Cutting down trees, building big structures, all sorts of different things. And I was the chair of the Lakefront Committee at that point, and sometimes it was certainly a long process. There were a lot of different iterations that we considered, both in terms of bathrooms and in terms of amenities. But I think, and I see some of the folks here who live near that park, I think everyone would say that we ended up in a pretty good place. I would say the same thing with the Gilson Master Plan at this point. Again, as I mentioned, I alluded to in comments a few minutes ago, that we did try to engage, we did try to gather information, and during the pandemic, it proved challenging. The consultants identified a number of different stakeholders, they had stakeholder meetings, they gathered input, but when they were in the process of synthesizing some of that, we heard very clearly from many people in the community, and quite frankly from the folks up at this board as well, that we hadn't really received enough input. And so this group restarted the process. We really took a pause back at the beginning of the summer, and we've done a tremendous amount of additional engagement. Whatever you want to say about the particular survey, there was an effort to gather additional information. We've had a number of open houses at the French Market, at the July 3rd celebrations, and so on and so forth. And there's been some talk about some of the information that Keep Gilson Green has shared with the community. I think I've said publicly a number of different times, I don't think the goal is to keep Gilson green. I think the goal is to make Gilson more green. I won't support any plan that doesn't decrease the overall pavement, even as we add sidewalks and bike lanes to try to make the park safer. Just like I think we ended up in a pretty good place with the community playfields, I think we're going to end up at a pretty good place with the Gilson Master Plan. And I guess I'm just saying, continue to work with us and continue to engage with us. When it comes to this project, again, I'm going to be very, very honest with you. I don't understand the angst. I simply don't. This is a relatively minor project. This is an interior renovation with a deck addition, which again is a significantly smaller deck addition than what was done, 50%. I think the Sheridan Shores deck is 50% larger than what's contemplated here. And there isn't a single person who was concerned about that, as that went through a public entitlement process as well. So I'm having a little bit of trouble understanding why this deck is so troubling to folks, but the Sheridan Shores deck is not. And to be fair, some people see it as being a different situation. I don't, and reasonable people can disagree about that. But the fact of the matter is, I see this as a fairly simple, fairly straightforward process and a fairly simple and straightforward project. This facility has been underutilized. It is in poor condition, and I think that we should go back and we should raise it to the standard of our other facilities throughout the park. There's been some talk about the term expansion, and I guess I will start by saying that if expansion is defined as several people defined it at this meeting and defined at the last meeting, then I'm absolutely in favor of expansion. But when people talk about adding one more photography class, that's expansion. Reducing any storage space to create a community center, that's expansion. To be able to find a way to bring one more child out of the rain during a camp, that's an expansion. One more square foot of deck or one more person at an event. If that's what our definition of expansion is going to be, then yes, I am in favor of expansion, but I don't see it as expansion. I see it as modernizing a tired facility that we need to bring up to date. Again, I think if we held that definition to all of our activities here, we'd never have our paddle facilities in town, and that's been a home run from my perspective. This year, we actually had, I think, 50 or 60 people who weren't able to participate because it's literally bursting at the seams. And, we've been talking a little bit about revenue. I don't know why generating revenue is a bad thing. I don't think it needs to be the be-all and end-all, and it certainly is not the primary goal of the Lakeview Center expansion. But to the extent that we generate revenue while we're doing things that people in our community enjoy, that does help keep our taxes low. So I just don't see that as a negative. And I guess the final comment that I would make, and then I'll open up the floor to my fellow commissioners, is there's a lot of concern about crowding out investment. And I know that another economist stepped up a little bit, talked a few minutes ago. I don't believe there's any crowding out of investment with this project. We have done extensive analysis. We did have money budgeted for this in the current fiscal year that we're not going to spend. That's not that uncommon. I think in 2020, we originally planned to spend about $2.5 million more in capital spending than we ended up doing. And obviously, the pandemic had a lot to do with that. But from time to time, projects do take longer. And from time to time, I think a couple people had mentioned that the price of a project might go up. I remember when I was on the board the first time around, the bid came in for the roof of the Lakeview Center, and it was too high, and so we didn't do the project. So I think you do have people up here who are fiscally conservative and fiscally responsible. But the point that I'm trying to make is that in August, we did do a deeper dive into our finances, and we did take a look at what we roughly expect the Gilson plan will cost, and shoreline protection and a whole host of other things. And we do believe that we can do all of these investments without coming back to the voters and seeking a referendum and looking for more money. I won't do that. I don't think anybody else up here will do it. I don't think it's a need. So I don't think that the concern that, you can't spend money on this because there's something else out there. I think, again, if that's our standard, then we're not going to do anything generally. And I'm in favor of progress, quite frankly. So with that, I'm going to turn the floor over to my fellow commissioners, and then we'll conclude the discussion.
Would you like
somebody
to
Patrick?
start? Yeah. So what I'd like to start with is that I think a big question was about the $1 million. And that.
Patrick.
Oh, I'm sorry. And I was the one telling everybody how to speak into the microphone.
There's an irony there.
Yeah. So I think the $1 million is a really big question. A lot of people will associate $1 million as a big project. I think that's some of what the problem is. So my question, and I've asked this of the board during committee meetings on other projects, or not the board, but of staff on other projects. We have a requirement, right, from the state that we pay prevailing wage.
Yes.
So that means we have to pay union wages for everybody. That increases the price of a project. So the other idea when we were talking about, I think we were talking about the bathrooms at community playfields, and that project came in at $890,000 for a bathroom. Now, about 25% of that was running new water and sewer to the structure itself. And I asked staff, where is this number coming from? I don't understand. The architects when they submit a plan, they submit to us an estimate of what the cost may be, and they build in a 20% contingency. And then we have that number from which to make our decision. Do we want to move forward with this project? Do we not want to move forward with this project? Once we say we want to move forward with the project, then it goes out to bid. And it's a competitive bid situation with the requirement that people are hiring union laborers, as we're required to do as a park district. And then because it's competitive, each time that I've seen a project come back to us, it's been less than what the estimate has been for the project. And I'm new on the board. I've only been on the board since April or May. So it's been really a learning experience for me to understand how this works. And to say that we've got $1 million project, this may not cost $1 million. It shouldn't cost $1 million, I agree with you, because it's a small building. Let's see, some other things that I wrote down that needed to be kind of addressed here was a concern about money to invest in this as opposed to other areas. Mr. Murdoch touched on it. there's a lot in the capital budget because in the last year and a half, we have not spent that money due to the pandemic. Things have been kicked forward down the road. Projects have been kicked forward down the road. These included Gilson Plan and the Lakeview Center are two of many projects that have been moved down the road. So we've been building up reserves to take care of these projects, including the shoreline protection at Langdon. These are all things that we built into a capital budget. I wasn't aware of this stuff before I became a board member, but I had to participate in meetings to understand how the process works. A number of people showed up tonight and said, this is my first time coming to a meeting. I thank you for coming to the meeting because we need community involvement to help give the Park District and our village direction when decisions are being made. But this process started, what date? 2 years ago? And to come in now and say, slow down because I just learned about it? Come on. We can't slow down because people just learned about it today. We'd never get anything done. The Lakota group was brought up by Ryrie Pellerton. The Lakota group has been around for a long time. I'm not saying I'm a supporter of theirs, but they seem to be the number one consulting group to go to for villages around here. Highland Park used them. Park Ridge used them. The village has used them a number of times. They seem to be the go-to group. Do I know anything more about them? I stepped into the process and they had already been hired, and I'm learning about them right now. When we go out for our next project, we'll interview more consultants and we'll see, is Lakota the best group for the job or not? Michael Duffy, did he leave already? Oh, my brother. Come on, fellow Duffy man leaves before I get to compliment him. His idea of knocking out the road that's on the eastern part of the park, this is something that I just brought up off the record with Mr. Murdoch a week or so ago, thinking that would make the park a lot greener. As you entered the park, it would get rid of all that parking. It would bring the parts of the park together. So I was 100% with him. Although this is a Lakeview Center conversation, I had to bring that up. Too bad he left. There was a comment about this being turning this into an entertainment center. And now I've only lived here 20 years. And in that time, the Wallace Bowl has not really been that active. But it's my understanding that when the Wallace Bowl was built, the whole purpose of the Wallace Bowl and then supporting later the Lakeview Center was to have entertainment in the park. It was built, so Mary's shaking her head, no, it wasn't built for that. That's interesting. So it was just a monument?
Hey, guys, no, let's not do that. Thank you, Mary, though. Thank you.
So I've talked with a guy when I was running for the park board, and we happened to be in Gilson, and he started telling me a story about how when he was in high school, and this is a guy that's my age, in his 50s, when he was in high school, he worked security with the police down at the Gilson parking lot for bands that came and played at Wallace Bowl, and that the concession stand was opened to support those events at the Wallace Bowl. To say that we're creating a new entertainment center is, I don't think what anybody on this board is intending to do. I can see how someone may spin that to think that way, but I'm telling you, the park was designed to bring people to the park to enjoy it. And all we're trying to do is continue that. I do have a question. It's been brought up in a couple of emails I saw, may have been brought up at the last Monday meeting about district policy, no programming in Gilson if it can be programmed elsewhere. Is there a policy like that? No. Where do you think that would have come from? I mean,
Recommendation by the Lakefront Commission and all the other prior
Thanks, Mary.
community surveys.
Okay, thank you, Mary.
And so the Lakefront Commission was a commission of neighbors of Gilson that were making
residents.
But
Again,
I'm sorry.
Thank you, Mary.
That were making recommendations to. This was I
was on the
recall this.
board back then, so that was when we were starting into the. Well, I wouldn't say starting into the master planning process. I think it started in 2007.
Yeah.
And so it's been going on. But when we were moving along, and I think with that group of consultants, we did decide to put together a citizens group, much like what was done when the park board sought input for the rebuilding of the Centennial Pool. So it was that type of a model. So it was a
I
group
see.
of people who applied and asked
then
to be
we're-
involved.
okay.
And I believe there were 11 or 13 people, I don't recall the specific number, and they made that recommendation to the board, but ultimately was for the board to then do with those recommendations as they saw fit.
Okay, so that's straight, because I didn't understand that. We had a number of people asking for increase in maintenance, and I don't think they were specifically talking about the building, they were talking about the park. And in a recent, in a recent Parks and Rec Committee meeting, we asked Director Wilson and his staff to budget for more employees to take care of the parks in general. The idea was to hire an arborist back, to hire more staff that was going to take care of the plants and the trees in the parks so that it wasn't just mowing lawns. So we're on this. You just haven't seen it yet because it was just brought up, and you'll see it next year as we start doing more work in the parks. I also noted a number of people were in support of maintaining buildings and in keeping them updated. Okay, and that was pretty much most of my comments that I wrote down. I think I've answered some questions, I've addressed some questions, and I'd like to hear what the rest of my board members feel.
Thanks, Patrick. Lindsay?
Going in order, sure. I'll jump in. First, I just want to thank all of you for taking the time to share thoughts and concerns and support and opposition. We have listened. I have listened. I noted and heard again many of your concerns. I was at the committee meeting before I was sworn in at the Lakeview Center, and I hear you and understand many of your concerns. And that community input is so very important. Heard everything about safety and traffic and parking and just overall how you use Gilson, how you use the Lakeview Center, and the potential impact that these changes and renovations could have. But I have to add as well that since I knew that I would have the opportunity to serve, I have had as many conversations as I possibly could. And I'm in a park district facility or a soccer field or the gymnastics center or the tennis courts or at the beach every day, and have been seeking out input. And what I've also heard from residents of Wilmette, someone at the Central Station this morning who's counting the days until potential changes so that she could celebrate her 50th birthday there in a nicer facility, talking to other moms in the pickup line or at other park district events. And I have also heard a lot of support for the changes from my community and from those that I have spoken to. Many comments and thoughts that have sort of contrasted with what we have heard in some of our public meetings. So I just wanted to note that the community input is so important and is so very much guiding my very difficult first decision on the board. But I think also as I think through all of this input, I'm also very much guided by the mission of the Wilmette Park District. And, we'll talk maybe a little bit later. And as was mentioned, I am very excited about looking at strategic planning and an overall guiding plan that can also help inform our decisions, that can help us prioritize our plans and our actions. But in the meantime, I also think the mission statement is also very informative and is guiding me as I think about all of the comments that we've heard. And just as a reminder, it's to enrich the quality of community life and promote activities through creative programming for people of all ages and abilities while protecting open space and natural resources for future generations. And I do hear and understand from touring the facility, from reading through the plans, from reading through comments, from talking to my fellow commissioners and staff, that that these changes, that this proposal will indeed enrich the quality of life and promote activities through new creative programming opportunities for all ages and abilities. And from what I can see from the plan and from the questions that have been answered that I've asked, the open space will continue to be protected and natural resources as well for future generations. So I am guided by this. I will say, I also just want to mention, I think as we share our opinions on this tonight, process and engagement is so important. I regret that so many of you I've not had a chance to sit down with prior to making a decision. And as a new board member, I absolutely commit to continuing to listen, to sitting down with you as decisions are made and continue to be made, to listening, to having coffee. My door is always open. And I also welcome coffee or sitting down or a discussion or getting to know you, even better understanding your concerns so that those can be reflected as decisions continue to be made as projects are implemented. So I want to share my commitment as a new board member. And then just end with one other note, or I guess two more, sorry. A big thank you to staff who has taken extra time to get me up to speed, to give me tours, to go through the briefings, to share background materials and history on a very thoughtful proposal. And then I'll just share one last point. I coincidentally, after the committee meeting, before I was sworn in, I had an event the following Saturday evening at the Lakeview Center, and it was an opportunity. It was a social gathering for my daughter's preschool and the parents to get together for the first time in a very long time. It was very exciting for everyone to come back together, and I don't think they had done an event in recent years at the center, and it's such a special place, and really could potentially be improved for events like that. I'm excited about that. I will say, it got to be about 9 o'clock, and it was a gorgeous night. There were a lot of people out on the deck, and the music was turned up, and it was a good crowd. It was sometimes hard to hear conversation. So I did take the time to investigate, just walking around the building, around the park, out along the streets in the evening and into the evening as the cars dispersed, and just want to have that personal experience in addition to sort of understanding what sort of is on paper, but also want to also continue to better understand for those of you who are impacted potentially by the changes. So I am grateful for the opportunity to hear from so many of you, though, and just want to make that commitment to continue to listen.
Thank you. Ellie?
Yes. First of all, thank you so much for those of you who have stayed. It really means so much to me. It's a sign of respect on both ends. I hope that we're listening to you and you have stayed to hear our comments on the feedback that you've provided. So thank you. I appreciate you being here. Regarding the Lakeview Center, in my research to prepare for the role of commissioner and for this evening, I learned as much as I could about the referendum in 2015 and the survey findings, and specifically its failings. One of the resounding themes was that the Gilson master plans in Langdon should have been separated. Not once was the Lakeview Center mentioned as the cause for its failure. An interior renovation of a building I find to be much different than building a new structure into an eroding bluff, and therefore I don't find the argument that it failed in the 2015 referendum to apply here. A question was asked tonight, what's the rush? My thoughts are I don't view the approval of the Lakeview Center plans as usurping funds from the Gilson Master Plan or repairing and building the Langdon revetments. They are not mutually exclusive, and therefore it is not rushed. It's the start of an overall improvement to Gilson as a whole. I appreciate Go Green Wilmette and Karen Glennemeyer's suggestions to include programming based on sustainability and to truly keep Gilson green. I do not view the use of Lakeview Center as a site for wedding receptions, truthfully, but rather as a place our residents can gather to appreciate the natural beauty of our park. It's my responsibility to represent the entire community of Wilmette. For every email I received against the proposed improvements to Lakeview Center, I made it a point to ask a fellow resident their thoughts, and I was met with an overwhelming positive response. These are my thoughts. For now, I wanted to provide some clarity in how I approached tonight's evening. I tried to take into account and took notes throughout the evening to incorporate many of the things that you've said. Like my previous commissioners, I open the door to you. I've talked to many of you in the audience. I welcome your feedback. I plan to live here for a very long time, and I want to do anything that I can to keep Gilson green. I promise you that. Thank you.
Thank you. Kara?
Yeah, thank you. Again, I want to echo the thanks, as Ally said, to those of you that have stayed. It does mean a lot. I am going through my notes and trying to remove my comments of things that have been said in the interest of everyone's time here. I do hear your concerns, especially one that I think we haven't spoken to yet is around the usage. And so I do want to reiterate what the other commissioners have said. We have read every single email in this packet. Some of them I've gone back to a few times, to be honest. As Commissioner Frazier said, I have also reached out to neighbors, friends, folks that I see at the gym in the mornings, and various community acquaintances I have, and asked their thoughts on the Lakeview Center. And I do also overwhelmingly find in my personal research that there are a lot more folks in favor of the refresh of the building than are showing up at this meeting. That said, your concerns regarding usage, I respect that tremendously. And as a member of this board who's not on the Lakefront Committee, I have asked these questions to the committee. I've asked these questions to the staff as well, around the funding, around the usage. The same questions you're asking. I want you to know that I don't just read the emails and dismiss them, but I truly have reflected on that and tried to do my own research as well. That said, the point about the funding seemed to come out frequently, and so I did clarify that. As other folks have said, there does not appear to be any conflict of the refresh budget with future planning, and so that is a project, that's not a concern. That this has already been budgeted for. And in terms of a strategic perspective towards the park and towards park planning, as I was preparing to run for this office and campaigning last year, that was the first question I asked as a strategist: is where's the strategic plan for all of these priorities? And I know many of us have talked about this, and this is one of the largest reasons Commissioner Anderson has joined us, is because she's bringing an extra dose of that skill set to our board, and that is something the board is committing to pursuing further. That said, when I did ask these questions and I understood better the process of capital planning that the boards before me have done for many years, that is a form of strategizing and prioritizing the funds. And so just like they determine when the tennis courts need resurfaced, they look at the entire village and they allocate those costs. And so I am comfortable seeing the Lakeview Center's update as one of the projects in the scheme of looking at the park. And so when I did ask those questions about strategy, I was, although not as optimal as a full-fledged plan, which we will move towards, I did feel that that was satisfactory in this project proceeding forward, and why this time and this place and why it was approved in the budget on the board before me. Now, what do I promise at the beginning about the usage and the capacity? I do believe that the staff of the park board, of the park district, have done a good job at managing capacity and programming across our district. I believe that they have been thoughtful in previous years about the usage of the Gilson Lakeview Center, even when there were requests for events. Sometimes they were turned down if they were in the summer and they might have presented an unusually high volume of traffic in the park. I've heard these anecdotes in the past, and so that was a point of reference I wanted to share with you. I can personally say that I've never gone to the beach on a really hot, crowded summer day and not found parking. And I remember asking Steve, how can that be? How does that lot never fill up? The staff is thoughtful about that on a daily basis in the summer when they do and they don't sell daily parking passes, I learned. And you sometimes see the billboard there, no daily parking today. So that's another sign to me that the staff puts thought into the usage and the traffic flow. Is it optimal, on the perimeter of the park? That's something beyond perhaps our control in terms of a people driving through our village. However, I do see and respect that the staff does try to serve the village in that way. And like I said, I've seen that and I appreciate that. I can also tell you as a mom of small kids that there's a lot of times that I would sign up for or go to register for classes and find that it was at capacity and that the classes fill up much more quickly than now that I'm on the park board, my friends remind me how quickly those classes filled up and that they were shut out of them. I don't believe that if there were to be a few more children's classes offered at Lakeview Center, that would negatively impact the presence of people in our park or in some of the concerns that I've heard residents share. And so I think, again, the staff being thoughtful with the time of the day and the usage and the type of activities, I do trust them. And at the same time, there is a board here to weigh in heavily should that get out of control. So I do encourage the dialogue to continue. I appreciate those concerns. And I would say that when that happens and it is truly there's an event that's becoming out of control, that we can push back as a board on these things. So the refresh itself, the most compelling, I think, tipping point for me was the truck stop story that Commissioner Goebel shared. I'd heard it before the last meeting, but she shared it at the Lakeview meeting.
Tell it again.
I will let you tell it again when it's your turn. I contrast that with some of the newer facilities neighboring park districts have built. During the pandemic, my children, we would go to the Robert Crown Center in Evanston to go for walks, and their eyes would light up at, wow, this beautiful new building. And it's a brand new building. It is beautiful. They also have loved to use the word dilapidated because that was a word we taught them when they were small, when we'd be driving on rural roads and they'd pick out barns that dilapidated. And so when we were having these conversations around the dinner table about why is people arguing and I'm sorry, that's not the right way to say that, but why is there discussion in the community about Lakeview Center if it should be updated on the inside, they said, well, if we didn't, it could become dilapidated. And I thought that was a cute anecdote as well. We wouldn't want to be the haunted house of the Gilson Park either. There was a community member in the correspondence that referenced Evanston neglecting to update a mansion. And I thought that was an interesting point as well. I also want to echo the supports for the sustainability plan and the concept of adding nature programming to the park. I'll pass the baton now. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, well, yes, I do want to join again and thank everyone for showing up. It is important to be involved in your community. Unlike, I will say, I guess I'm the old lady of the board. And because I moved here in 3 months after I got married, and I was married in June of 1992, and I moved here in September of 1992. It was before my children were even a twinkle in any of our eyes. My first child was born in 1995. And since that point, I have 4 children. My youngest are twins. So I have lived through the referendum. I have lived through all the discussion over the community recreation center and how many people spoke out against the community recreation center and how many people thought this was going to be a terrible mistake and how no one was going to use it. And it's now one of our premier properties here in Wilmette. So I have to say, I know earlier I emailed my children the link to the Lakeview Center plans, and I said, what do you think of this? Because I do tend to ask my children. They're the ones who used a lot of these the playfields, who used these things, and only my daughter responded. And she said she looked at them and she thought they were really good, and that Lakeview Center was in desperate need of remodeling. And her only other thing was making sure that they kept a larger space for Great Gilson campers, because when it was raining, they were inside and they mostly played cards or made friends. And that's, I think what this remodeling is doing is giving that large space for Great Gilson to keep to make, the kids to make friends and to play cards. So I guess I'm also with this, it's like, I'm not quite sure what the objection is to this plan and why people are objecting to it. I have also expressed that I think the renovation allows the Park District to make it more of an educational for residents, to educate residents about the ecological uniqueness of Gilson Park, about the birds that come through, that can provide some of the historical, people have talked about, oh, this is a very historical thing. Well, we can do that with the Lakeview Center, with the lower level space being opened up and can be made an educational space. So I guess I'm not quite sure what the objections are based upon. I just think that this will be right now we have a deck that no one can sit on. And there are so many times where I've gone, I've sat outside and I've had a cup of coffee, and it's just so lovely being outside. It's just lovely being among the greenery, among the trees, and hearing the birds. And you can't, I really can't do that too well at late. It was just so nice to sit out on the deck and just have my coffee or have my tea. So I think we'll probably just about stop there. But I see this as a plus to the entire community.
Thank you. Julia?
Great, thank you so much. I'm gonna just further echo. I appreciate seeing people in the audience anytime, and I have to say, it isn't enough. We don't see enough involvement in Park District matters. And so I appreciate your passion and the way that everyone who spoke tonight and has cared about this matter. What I have found since my election is that everyone cares about the park in their neighborhood like it's their personal park. We all feel connected deeply to our parks, whether it's Vatman or Gilson or Community or any of the parks in our neighborhoods. And so I really appreciate the concern with which people speak about their parks. I want to assure you that I do too, and no one raises their hand for this job if they don't care about the parks. So please be assured of that. I am meeting a lot of people who have never reached out to me before, and I'm so grateful for that effort. But I think it also is an opportunity to clarify some concerns that I've heard and even some fears that might be unfounded. I want to start with the truck stop story because it's been teased, and I don't want to leave you hanging. Not long ago, we were approached by a film scout who wanted to film in Gilson a movie scene. And of course, when we learned of this, it sounded very exciting. And why wouldn't anyone want to film in this beautiful park? And what we learned was that they were seeking a truck stop bathroom, and that Lakeview they thought would be perfect for the truck stop bathroom scene. As it turned out, so that was disappointing, obviously. As it turned out, it wasn't ideal for their truck stop scene, and they moved on to a different truck stop location. But I think the point is that it is, it's not in great shape. Is it usable? Absolutely. But it's not usable in the way that families who move to Wilmette and purchase their largest asset of their lives, their home when they're newlyweds or when they have 1.5 children and just have to get out of the condo, like many people have. They're choosing their most expensive asset in putting their money in Wilmette. And I think there's a duty in turn to invest in Wilmette, and part of that is the Park District. And so I think we've touched on a number of items. I'm going to try to edit because I know, one, a lot of these points have been covered, and I don't want to repeat, but two, it's 10 o'clock, and you're still here, so thank you for that. We spoke a little bit about why isn't it in the comprehensive plan. I do feel the plans have fallen out of sync, but I believe by year end they will be resynced, and that's not that far away. We are moving into a capital planning process that is underway, kicks off in more public meetings, so don't miss those November budgeting meetings. And we'll have an opportunity to line up these projects in a fulfilled way. One of the concerns that came up at the Lakefront meeting 2 weeks ago and a little bit this evening, but is one that there are concerns about the trees or that people here don't care about the trees. I think that couldn't be farther from the truth. I personally care very much about the trees. In addition, many of the people, about half of the commissioners here voted to save the cottonwood trees, which was a concern. So I would just ask you to look at our voting as a board and how we have supported sustainability. Can we do more? Absolutely. There's more opportunity to continue to demonstrate sustainability practices. But if you look at Go Green's really thoughtful letter, Go Green will met the board, not individuals, but when a board of a local organization puts public comment in, it is not something they take lightly. And so this letter is available and will be part of the public record. It was submitted, I think, just today, but it is available to you. It has some very thoughtful recommendations, but it also supports the Lakeview interior renovation. And so I want to just note that these aren't things that people are deciding lightly. Now to get to something specific. I've heard operational concerns about this being used to justify parking. There is not a person on this board who wants to add parking. In fact, I know that many of us would like to reduce pavement and parking. But in particular, as an operational concern, if I were to, for example, organize an event that required more people than parking permitted, it's very reasonable that the Park District might make operational requirements like you must also arrange for a shuttle from the train station to Gilson. There are certainly ways we can modify and control that, and I don't think anyone wants this to be out of hand. In fact, I said in February, for anyone who was listening, I do not want a Disneyland in this park. That public meeting is available. No one wants that at all. So there's an operational opportunity with parking shuttles, for example, and restraints. The second piece that I've heard a lot is the idea that this would be made for significant size weddings. And that just isn't possible from an event perspective. If you are going to have round tables of 8 or tables of 6, and then you also add a dance floor, a gift table, a cake table, perhaps there's a bar setup, you simply can't accommodate the people, the numbers that are in the schematic. And so to me, practically speaking, I think these are small weddings at best, but I also think it's probably more likely baby showers, 70th birthdays, and meetings and preschool fundraisers. I think it's more of that type of event, and I know the staff well enough to believe that they will follow our requirements around operations just to ensure that these things don't get out of hand. And then last thing is local means local. So your election choices really matter. It is really important you understand and pay attention to the matters, not only this one, but many others, so that when you make an informed decision, you can trust that the people you voted for can follow through. And we might not agree on every topic, but you asked us to, you supported us with a vote, and you are trusting that we're looking at the details. So I would just close with that thought. We care about representing the people, and while we won't please everyone, we hope to please some of you. And I'll wrap up with that.
Thank you. Does anyone have anything else to add?
I do. There was I was going through my questions, and there was one thing that I meant to ask Director Wilson. It was brought up about commemorative trees and that no money from the Park District was being spent on trees. So how did that old program, I know that the program is currently suspended until we have a plan for Gilson before we start planting more trees. Or any park, okay, thank you. But before we start planting trees in Gilson, we have to have a plan. What was the program? They paid X dollars for a commemorative tree and the Park District contributed some dollars? I mean, how did the plan work?
Typically, the plan has worked where, for the cost of the tree, pretty much, is what the family was responsible for, and then we did the installation of the tree. So our contribution was the labor in kind with our staff.
And the plaque or whatever?
The family would pay for the plaque as well.
Okay.
And then as a result of public input during prior planning efforts for Gilson, a whole new memorial program with different costs and different expectations was created by the board, yet to be implemented at a Gilson Park because we don't have a board-approved landscape plan at this point.
All right, understood. Thank you very much. Like I had mentioned earlier, learning as I go, being involved, and, having been a voice trying to get something from the Park District years ago and from the village, was one of my learning experiences on how to engage the board and the different boards to understand how they worked. So, like I had said, I'm learning as we go along here, and I appreciate everybody's comments. So I also had refrained from saying whether I really thought this was a good idea or not. I was trying to answer people's questions and understand. But as many of you have stated, it seems to me that a renovation of the center is beneficial to the village and the Park District as a whole, as we are supporting the community through our services and facilities. And I think that staff, having heard from residents about their concerns of the use of the facility, if it does ever get updated, will take into consideration how they program this facility. So, and I have faith in you guys because you have demonstrated the ability to have my faith in you. So thank you.
Sounds good.
I do have one other question, or just point of clarification. It was also brought up about, why now and what about the roads first? So can either Mike or Steve, can you speak to just confirming if we were to proceed with Lakeview Center as proposed, would we still be on track? Would it in any way delay proceeding with the Gilson Comprehensive and the roads and the sewers and infrastructure? Or could they happen simultaneously without any concern on budget or staffing constraint?
Answer.
Sure. As our financial model and our planning meeting that Commissioner Murdoch referred to in August, we had $2 million at Langdon, over $4 million for Gilson, $1 million for Lakeview, plus all the other needs around the district, and everything worked with our current fund balances, projected fund balances into the future, as well as any and other sources that we could utilize.
And understood. And from a staff management time perspective, we could still manage both projects simultaneously should the roads catch up, because I am completely also in favor of fixing the roads, the curbs, the sewers as soon as possible. My children also don't even want to bring their scooters to Gilson anymore, to the comment that was shared about that one. So I just wanted to confirm for everyone listening that we could still proceed. This isn't going to in any way slow the Gilson project.
From a implementation or planning perspective, no.
Okay, thank you.
All right.
Would you like to call for a motion?
Sure. I would like to call for a motion concerning the design concept for the Lakeview Center.
I move to approve the design concept for the Lakeview Center as recommended by the Lakefront Committee.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
All right, roll call, please.
Commissioner Duffy?
Yes.
Commissioner Anderson?
Yes.
Commissioner Frazier?
Yes.
Commissioner Kozlowskis?
Are we approving the entire thing at once?
No. Should we, actually, I think it might be worth having a point of discussion about what this is.
This motion is just the design concept, not the professional services agreement.
Correct. We're approving the concept.
We're asking the architect
Are we
to
renovating?
create finite plans right now. That's what we're
Actually,
doing.
the next
that's the
motion
next
will
motion.
deal with the architect.
I'm sorry.
This is the idea of renovating the Lakeview.
Just saying, yes, this is the idea of
so
renovation.
we want
Strictly
to
conceptual.
renovate.
Sorry to break the rhythm. Are we still voting then?
We are.
Yes.
All right, Commissioner Kozlowskis?
Yes.
Commissioner Clark?
Yes.
Commissioner Goebel?
Yes.
Commissioner Murdoch?
Yes.
Motion passes.
It actually, before we, let's go ahead and let's
I would
talk
add-
about the design, the design services proposal. So
well-
first, if someone could make a motion, then let's have a
Yes.
discussion about it.
I move to approve the design services proposal for Lakeview Center as recommended by the Lakefront Committee.
And a second.
I second.
Great. Steve, could you give us a brief synopsis of the proposal?
Sure. So this proposal is to take the conceptual designs through a more detailed design development. So more detailed plans could be drafted to facilitate bid work, once the bids are in, facilitate construction work.
And would it facilitate tight budgeting?
As you proceed from conceptual to detailed design to bid documents, the budgets do get tighter and more exact.
That's great. Thank you for clarifying.
Kara? You look like you were ready to ask a question. I'm sorry.
No,
Wearing a mask.
I'm just clarifying that the concept is the full phase 1, 2, and 3 as one concept that we're discussing.
Correct. And so the proposal is to do the drawings for all three phases, then how we implement it is a further
The timing
discussion.
will be
Yeah,
discussed.
so, and I'm just clarifying, so really now we're just doing we're really basically doing the drawings, and then we will vote again on whether to actually proceed with the drawings that are.
Right, and it makes sense to do the drawings as
Yes,
one,
yes,
and then we
yeah.
can decide how we stage the project. That's
Okay. So this is the first of a series of considerations
correct.
over several months of time.
Correct. And I expect that will also involve our budgeting process and our capital meeting in November. And I expect the Lakefront Committee will continue discussions as well concerning timing.
Okay.
Yes.
Thank you.
Any further discussion? All right, could I have a roll call?
Commissioner Duffy.
Yes.
Commissioner Anderson.
Yes.
Commissioner Frazier.
Yes.
Commissioner Kozlowskis.
Yes.
Commissioner Clark.
Yes.
Commissioner Goebel.
Yes.
Commissioner Murdoch.
Yes. And with that, I'm going to suggest that we take a 5-minute break, and then we'll finish up with the Lakefront report and the rest of our committee reports. Thank you all for being here. We appreciate your patience and your comments.
Stick around.
We're
More
in
to come.
recess.
But they overuse that word because they like
I'm back on? Beautiful. I'm going to call the meeting back to order. And with that, continuing with our agenda, it may be short, but is there any additional Lakefront Committee report?
Thank you. I do want to share that in the last meeting following discussion of the renovation, there was a really remarkable presentation by the Lakefront staff about the work not only planned but delivered and accomplished in the course of a very busy season. And I would really like to see that in some way highlighted, because I think the staff did a remarkable job in a post-pandemic year. That was the other most notable thing from the Lakefront Committee meeting, and then the Lakefront Committee will meet again on the first Monday of November.
Great, thank you. And it was a remarkable report. I would echo that. Absolutely. And thank you to the staff and to Ben specifically. Absolutely. Golf Committee report.
This is awful because I just put a piece of candy in my mouth. Thank you, Catherine. Golf Committee report. It was a brief meeting. We got an update on the cart path progress, which was just beginning. This was last week, right?
And actually, maybe Steve could give an update since that time.
Yeah, let me help out.
We'll give you a break.
That, and
We'll give you a break.
jump in. So the cart path project has begun to pick up steam, moving along at a quick pace. The summary I received today, both from the staff as well as the engineers, is that construction is moving at a very rapid pace over the last couple of days, including today, and they're feeling good about the progress.
Great. If I recall, that was the bulk of the meeting.
Other than that, the golf course is closed, and
right.
That's it.
Well, I would like to. Sorry, now I'm crunching.
I'll ask you a question.
Driving range open?
I was asked that by the
Driving range is open.
Very good.
Budget will be presented at the next meeting, including as you heard our first speaker of the night refer to what is going to be done for the membership given the early closure this year. And that is all being baked into the budget and very much in line with what I believe she requested.
And Steve, is there an estimated date of completion for the cart paths?
The original estimated completion date was, we have officially on the contract December 3rd, but on the schedule it was November 19th, trying to beat the holidays. They did get to a slow start, but at this time they're still hoping for November 19th. They've started working longer hours. Instead of a usual 3 o'clock punch out, they're going to 5 o'clock, and they're prepared to start implementing Saturdays to catch up for the days that were lost at the beginning.
And then the other thing, I know this was not discussed in this most recent Golf Operations Committee meeting, but an email just went out today about seeking bids for the restaurant space at the golf course.
And I already have one interested party in my inbox. So.
All right.
So how long will we accept inquiries, or is there a time frame by which any restaurant operators should reach out?
We have a current operator in place through the end of the year. So we're definitely looking over the next couple weeks to a month.
Okay, so any interest should be registered
soon.
Yep.
And then I just wanted to note, the person who spoke represented a group within the Women's Golf Association, the Suburban Women's Golf. So there are 6 or 7 different subgroups within the Women's Golf Association at the club, at the golf course. And I wanted to note, I had a conversation with a couple of senior leaders, and they're not senior at all in their age. They are some of the executives among the group. And that was not a unanimous perspective.
Okay.
So I just want to note that while a letter was not stated that it, on behalf of the entire Women's Golf Association, I think it might be worth the exploration of a case-by-case basis when there are inquiries made versus a blanket refund or other strategies. So I'm sure the staff is looking at strategies to help remedy anyone who feels that they missed opportunities, but it may well be worth looking at a case-by-case basis.
Okay.
Great. Parks and Rec.
Parks and Rec, we did not have a meeting.
Okay. Centennial Committee met earlier this evening, and A couple of points from the manager's report. We had 593 folks who were swimming laps in September and averaged approximately 100 a day. So I think that program was very, very well received. Sarah Freilich started as our pool ice supervisor on October 4th, so welcome. The tennis, the Gilson outdoor courts were recently resurfaced, and they're blue because apparently that is a better contrast for the typical color of a tennis ball. I did not know that until tonight. But apparently we will be using that color scheme moving forward in our other renovations as we look at the other facilities. And there was some talk about paddle again is bursting at the seams, which leads to the bulk of the conversation, which had to do with what we're referring to as the West Park Master Plan. And the committee has been discussing for several months about adding pickleball courts, adding paddle courts, adding a deck, expanding the hut, and relocating the playground. The community gardens would not be affected by this plan. And the committee recommended that the playground be relocated to the northwest portion of the park, a little bit further away from the facility, but we expect there's going to be further discussions among the group about that at the meeting next month. The committee recommended that for 2022, that the board consider adding all 8 pickleball courts, the new playground, which would need to be relocated because the pickleball courts would be on the current playground, the 2 northernmost paddle courts, and the deck, which connects the current hut with the 2 courts across no man's land, across the easement for Glenview Water. And then the following year, the recommendation was to expand the hut, add 2 additional courts, and add the deck to the south, attaching those courts. That part of the plan would involve putting a court and a deck and the expansion of the building somewhat into the parking lot to the south. But we verified with the Parks and Planning staff that they still have full access to the facilities building. So that was the recommendation, not on the agenda tonight, but I expect we'll take that up as a board next month. And that is the Centennial Committee report. And we forgot to change the name of the committee in our operations, but hopefully we can do that in the edit.
Yeah, okay.
And start calling it facilities, which is what it probably should be.
Yeah, which is probably, better.
Yep.
Name. Okay. All right, well, financial planning and policy report. We met fairly briefly on September 20th. We didn't really do too much because a lot of people were at a conference. But generally, the district is still doing very well financially. That as the I will just say that property taxes are still under budget, but the expectation, I think the property taxes are they due now, or the due date is coming up, so that will this month will probably catch up again. But overall, we are expecting a surplus probably in the range of like 2,600,000 plus. So we're still continuing to do very well financially. So, and our next meeting will be next Monday.
And do you mind giving a brief update on the committee of the whole concerning the organization documents?
Yes,
since
of course,
that really falls under financial planning as well.
Thank you. Yes, it does. And I'm in my parrot kind of blanked out on that. So we met last Wednesday as the committee of the whole to discuss the board operations manual, and we went through then the different provisions that really needed more board policy decisions, as opposed to previously we've approved updates to bring it in line with Illinois statute. And those were kind of all gone through. And this time we left and we deferred and we left for discussion this past week of the sections that were really more policy. How did we want to proceed? And I think we had a very collegial meeting, and we accomplished quite a bit. And at this point, I think we have now, our attorneys know what the board is looking for, and we'll do a draft, that the draft will be presented, and we'll probably go over it now in committee, a smaller committee, just the financial planning and policy, and make a recommendation to the full board to whether or not to accept that. Okay. And our next meeting for financial planning and policy, I believe, will be next Monday. I forgot the date, which would be, I guess, October 25th, you think? Yeah.
Correct.
All right.
That's it.
Real Estate Committee did not meet, but has a meeting scheduled.
Next week, Monday the 25th.
Next week, Monday.
Great, thank you. Intergovernmental Cooperation Committee?
No meeting to report, however, as the Intergovernmental Cooperation Committee will be reforming, we will. I have not been informed of a meeting, though I've heard discussion.
There's a rumor floating around, right?
That there is.
November 12th is I believe what I've heard is out there. But again,
Okay.
we'll communicate with the village and with other folks and make sure that we've got all of our ducks in a row.
And so for the report, I would just say Julia and I will be attending that meeting.
Great, thank you. Executive Director's Report.
All right, I will be brief as it's 10:42. In your packet under new business, you have an amendment to the intergovernmental agreement with the Village of Wilmette regarding stormwater. What it does, in essence, is provide some flexibility on the usage of the funds that the village is providing to the district, but at the same time sets a clock on when those funds must be expended, two things that did not exist in the original intergovernmental agreement. Moving on, just want to report that the Wilmette Foundation's Beach Bash was held last month quite successfully. Just want to thank the members of the foundation, thank the members of our park staff for all their dedication in getting things set up and taken down, and thank the police department for their time and efforts to just make sure it was a successful and safe event. So kudos all around and very successful, and we have a meeting tomorrow night to kind of eyeball what they believe they raised. So I will report on that at a future time. And then just want to inform people that, again, because of COVID, we're altering kind of our traditions here in Wilmette when it comes to large special events. Halloween Happening will not be taking place, as that's a historically indoor event over at the rec center. Instead, we are doing an alternative event this year at Malancrop Park called, I believe, Pumpkin Palooza. And the event will have a multitude of activities, but kind of a fun aspect to it is we're going to have two different trails, a spooky trail, not that spooky, and a haunted trail, much more spooky. And it's kind of a choose your own fright level adventure for the kids. So consider yourself warned. Don't take the haunted trail. And that concludes my report.
Thank you very much. Next up, new business. We have a couple of items of new business, but before we touch on those, I'd like to have a brief discussion about strategic planning. There was some talk about it here earlier this evening. I think a couple of commissioners have referenced it. It's something that I think was stated to some extent. We do strategic planning to some extent in terms of how we do our capital planning and how we allocate funds. I'm not sure that's necessarily the best way to do it. And I've heard from a number of commissioners, myself included, that we would like to do a more formal strategic planning process. So I was wondering if perhaps Steve or Lindsay could enlighten us a little bit about how we might go about doing that as a brief introduction.
You want me to do it? You do it?
I can jump in initially, just with some initial thoughts. I think I've already begun to research by looking at other districts, other park districts in the state, in the region, and just otherwise, and how, not only what their strategic plans look like, some call it a master plan, and we have master plans, but they can very much complement each other. And I've also started to look at process and how those were developed, what type of input there was, how long the process took. But I feel very strongly that it's something that we should pursue. And, I think that the first question is going to be starting to better understand how other districts have approached this. And thankfully, and just in looking at Glencoe and some other surrounding districts, their plans are very recent. Many were done even just in the last 3 to 5 years. So I think we can learn a lot, and I'm happy to send those around if it would be helpful. But really excited about the possibility to start. Steve, I don't know if you want to talk a little more just about.
Sure. I think couldn't agree more. Strategic plan is something that helps guide an agency like the Park District forward into the future. It helps give all members of staff and the board as we come and go kind of a baseline to reflect upon as we move forward. And so doing the research, you're doing research, I'm doing research, and trying to understand the nuanced difference between a strategic plan and a community needs assessment and all of that, and make sure that we can have a cohesive conversation here to decide what our path forward is, how we want to proceed, and so we can get off on the right foot as a group to begin with.
And the only other thing I'll add that we did discuss, Steve, is maybe looking to some of our associations and other peers to ask about if there are any best practices and strategic planning and processes so we can learn from others as we jump in.
Mm-hmm. Sounds great. Do any other commissioners have any questions or comments?
Look forward to the process.
Absolutely. Yep. Great. Thank you. All right, item 8.1 on our agenda, Resolution 21-R-5, which is a resolution approving a second amendment to the intergovernmental agreement between the Village of Wilmette and the Wilmette Park District. Could I have a motion?
I move to approve Resolution 2021-R5, a resolution approving a second amendment to the intergovernmental agreement between the Village of Wilmette and the Wilmette Park District.
And a second.
I second that.
Great. Discussion. Steve, you want to give us a quick overview?
Again, it is just an amendment to provide flexibility to the Park District in how the funds are spent, requiring that the funds be spent on capital projects within the 3 parks, Community Playfield, Hibbard Park, and Thornwood Park, but not necessarily specific to the projects that were initially outlined in the IGA. Likewise, as the village has issued bonds for this project, to avoid arbitrage, there is a time frame in which the funds must be expended, and that's how the date in here was calculated.
And it gives us flexibility to spend those funds for broader uses within those 3 parks.
Correct.
Great. Any further questions, discussion?
So the date to use them is
2024.
November 2024?
December 1st, 2024.
December 2nd, 2024.
Okay. Yes,
So
right, exactly.
Does that mean we need to have plans by that date, or do we actually have to
have the money spent and invoice requests into the village by December 2nd, 2024.
Okay.
Will staff be making recommendations? I'm sorry.
No, because do we have any concern? Because I guess I'm looking at the community playfield took a while longer than expected, and whether we have any concerns, any of the other part. Well, I mean, I guess it might be just. I'm not. Is it just Thornwood left? I guess. Do we have any concerns that we won't meet that date?
I guess my comment on that would be, I think that's a fair concern. I think we have to do some looking, but by the same token, if you take a look at the specific projects that were identified in the original IGA, which, by the way, only 3 of the 7 of us were involved in that process, so I think there's an issue with that. Really, the only projects left potentially to be considered from that list were the Thornwood bathrooms.
Yeah.
I think a number of folks have spoken about their thoughts on that project. And perhaps some additional irrigation at 1 or 2 of the parks. So from a practical standpoint, were we not to make this amendment, the process is pretty well over anyway, because I'm not sure if we were proceeding with any of the additional projects. So my perspective would be that this is a far better option for us because it gives us flexibility to, for example, use funds to resurface tennis courts, or perhaps put a temperature-controlled system at Thornwood Park where the ice is, or whatever the case may be. So yes, I mean, I think if we're serious about considering other items for these parks, that's going to be a focus for Parks and Rec probably starting next month to figure out what that process looks like, and again, in conjunction with our strategic planning process and priorities and community needs assessment. So I think the timing does create some challenges for us, but we were bound originally by a fairly finite list of projects, some of which, like fitness equipment at the community play
We're not
fields,
gonna-
we've
yeah,
already decided we're
we're
not
not
doing.
using. But I'm more, well, you just mentioned like doing it in conjunction with the strategic planning, and I am kind of concerned that that may take a longer time than anticipated, and will we then run out of time and leave money on the table? So that's.
I think that's a valid concern, but,
think it is
you
too.
know, I think we also have landscape designs and plans to be implemented with those funds. And then some of these other projects that Commissioner Murdoch's talking about are more maintenance and upkeep,
Yeah.
you know, fencing and surfaces of courts and, you know, even some playgrounds in some of these parks.
And I secretly hope there's going to be a sledding hill someplace.
You know, if there ever is, he will already be in college.
Oh, well, it's too late now,
So
yeah.
I'm sorry. But that doesn't mean it won't be fun. And probably will use it anyway.
Great.
I did have a question. It specifically names restrooms in Thornwood, which we haven't decided to do.
We have not. That's correct.
But we're no longer bound to that per the amendment, how I understood this.
Correct.
So it's available as an option, but we're no longer required to spend the funds on that.
So why is it
That was my
specified then?
Because it was in the original, wasn't it?
Was it in the original?
It was.
Yes, that's right.
It was always in the original.
Yeah, the bathrooms at Thornwood and community playfields were in the original.
That was why there was so much outcry.
But at the committee level, we specifically discussed our disinterest in our Parks and Rec committee specifically discussed our disinterest in pursuing bathrooms at Thornwood Park.
Just so that it doesn't confuse the residents.
Right.
Who
I
have
think that's a
continued to
great
trust
point.
us.
Yes.
Yes.
Good catch.
I had a quick question about just prioritization of potential here. I think it would be really wonderful to have the staff present that at our next Parks and Rec. I assume it would fall under
I
or
would assume so,
facilities
yes.
meeting.
Yes.
And their recommendations for prioritizing these
That's a great idea.
items.
Is there an update on how much has been spent or at least obligated?
Bridget gave us a report probably about 6 months ago, give or take, with a total at that point. There has been some additional spending at Hibbert, I believe. I'm not sure if there's been additional spending at Thornwood, so we should get an update.
We'll get
It's
an
probably time
Yeah.
to get an update.
It's include the obligation for the bathroom, although we don't have a quote on it yet, we can at least say, hey, here's a place marker for it.
Correct. Same with the fitness pass.
Yep, absolutely. Great idea.
My sense was that given where we were from that update, which I remember was on the screen
That's
right
correct.
there. And that initially I had the same thought as Cecilia on the timing, but given where we were already at in the progress of spending and understanding that we can now use some of those funds for places that, if you look at the capital plan and how many of those amenities are within those parks, I'm very comfortable proceeding. And we would, of course, not want to leave money on the table, so we would be thoughtful and watch the clock carefully in that sense, but I trust staff can manage to that. So I'm comfortable proceeding.
Great. All right, any further discussion? All right, roll call?
Did we have a motion in a second?
We did.
I just didn't write it down. All right. Commissioner Duffy?
Yes.
Commissioner Anderson?
Yes.
Commissioner Frazier?
Yes.
Commissioner Kozlowskis?
Yes.
Commissioner Clark?
Yes.
Commissioner Goble?
Yes.
Commissioner Murdoch?
I'm actually going to abstain because I have to confess, getting ready for, this is something that's very important to me, but getting ready for this meeting, I didn't have a chance to fully study the document and to go back to the original document, so I apologize. That's what I would normally do.
Should we pull the motion? If
No,
If you
I'm-
feel that way, then maybe others should. I certainly had that confusion.
Okay. Steve, where are we with the process with the village?
We need to approve. With what? It's specifically.
The village has approved this. You know what?
Correct. The village has approved this.
Right.
And
So, you know what, I'm going to, I've reviewed this. I didn't go back to the other document, which would normally be my practice. That
So-
being said,
let me
yes.
help you.
Thank you, I
because
appreciate
You
that.
pointed to a reference before we
I
started
did.
this discussion in there
Correct.
about 6.8.
Correct.
Section 6.8 defines the mechanics of how we submit invoices
Got
and
it.
how they pay us back.
All right.
That's all it is.
As I was looking at this, I became uncomfortable because there was a section that I didn't see, and I didn't go through my normal process preparing for the Lakefront, the Lakeview Center meeting. So with that, I would like to change my vote to in favor. Yes. Thank you.
Resolution is approved.
Gavel. Yeah, right. No, I think you're going to use the gavel on me for thinking about abstaining, so that's fair. And then item 8.2, IAPD credential certificate. Could I have a motion? Commissioner Duffy?
I move that we approve the IAPD credential certificate.
Actually,
So, there is a motion. I get appointed as the primary, and one of you gets to be my backup.
I move to appoint Director Wilson as delegate and Commissioner
I'll be happy to be the backup.
Murdoch as alternative to represent the Wilmette Park District at the IAP 7th to the 29th, 2022. Thank you.
I'll second that.
Okay, roll call.
Commissioner Duffy.
Yes.
Commissioner Anderson.
Yes.
Commissioner Frazier.
Yes.
Commissioner Kozlowskis.
Yes.
Commissioner Clark.
Yes.
Commissioner Goebel.
Yes.
Commissioner Murdoch.
Yes.
Thank you. Motion
Commissioner
passes.
Clark, do you have another
Well,
motion?
yes, but I know it is very late, so I think I would like to
Adjourn to closed session?
adjourn to closed session. I just am wondering, given the time, whether it's, although I'll tell you, I'm wide awake.
I think we should go ahead and do it. We can decide how long we have the conversation,
me-
but if you'd like to make the motion.
Okay, I move we adjourn to closed session to discuss a,
Let me read the language
Yeah,
for you,
read
and
the
you can
language.
say so moved. Move to adjourn to closed session for the discussion of the appointment, employment, compensation, discipline, performance, or dismissal of a specific employee, specific individuals who serve as independent contractors, or specific volunteers in accordance with 2C1 of the Open Meetings Act.
yes, so
A
moved.
second?
I'll second.
Roll call. Commissioner Duffy.
Yes.
Commissioner Anderson.
Yes.
Commissioner Frazier.
Yes.
Commissioner Kozlowskis.
Yes.
Commissioner Clark.
Yes.
Commissioner Goebel.
Yes.
Commissioner Murdoch.
Yes.
Gavel.
We are adjourned.